listen to that one.
Eventually.
When you did the intro, was it just you two?
Yeah.
Okay.
At my house.
I need to see this.
It was good. Oh, you wait until you see the content we shot the other day.
Oh.
Wild Lord.
Hello.
It's just me talking about different topics, but it doesn't make sense for that to be there.
I put mine on it.
It's a nice bottle though.
Thank you. It's vodka.
Yeah.
Shall we begin?
Please.
What's up, everybody listening and watching? This is the Duke LDN Podcast collaboration with Identity Ideas Industry, run by Miss Tali. I got the name right now because I got told off in the last episode.
You got the order wrong.
Because I got the order wrong of the collaboration.
Put some respect on my name.
Yeah.
Details.
So yeah, if you
Hashtag
didn't,
short
go back and watch the intro episode, which should already be out by now. But what we are doing is a series of 4 podcasts collaborating with Tali's intensive company / organization, which is 3 strands: identity, ideas, and industry. And each of the podcasts will reflect those strands. So in the studio, you would be focusing on those. In the podcast, we're going to be talking about those. So today, our episode is based around identity. And we invited a guest each. And my choice was Paris, and Tali's choice was Glenn.
Hi.
Do we maybe want to speak about why we chose them?
Hey.
Yes.
Rather than necessarily running their bio?
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be nice if they introduce themselves, but
Sure.
before they do that, we can talk up the things a little bit.
Let's do it. This is how we do our planning, on air.
I love this.
Let's,
I love this.
let's plan the
Process.
podcast on air.
Another thing about III, process.
In real time.
So this is it.
This is how we do
This
it.
is it. It's a choice.
That's the first time I've heard you say aye.
Aye.
It's very long to say in its entirety.
Unless you say it
I
like,
thought of doing club nights and calling them III.
Oh, you should definitely do that.
But I'm going to call them scenes instead because I've been calling my mixes scenes.
that makes sense.
We've digressed already.
We have. Do you want to let us know why Mr. Hudson
I
is your
thought
choice
you
on
might
identity?
come to me first. So, without the link to the theme of today's podcast, I just feel that Glenn's voice is one that we don't hear a lot of, but the respect for Glenn is very, very high in the community and industry and has been for years.
Truth.
And then specifically with the theme of identity, I would say that that is part of the reason why he's held in such a high regard, because his signature has been clear for a decade plus at this point, I think. And I've personally never heard personally or publicly how that came about. And yeah, I just think he could just sit here in silence and it would be like ratings to Glenn, and that would be great for me that he was here. But just to hear him speak on those things, I think that was a mistake, but that was sick.
I love that. It just works.
Yeah, I think the time is, is now for us to hear from him. So.
Thank you very much, Dels.
Thank you, mate.
That is
Major truth.
true. I agree. And I didn't know that. That's why that was why you chose him. But I like that.
Why did you think I chose him?
I don't know. I didn't know. I was waiting to see, like, not to say that I'm like, why is he here? No, but like I didn't immediately think, oh, I know why Tali chose Glenn. But it's nice to hear that reasoning behind it, which makes it even cooler that you're here.
Yeah.
And like we haven't caught up or spoken like years, so it's sick for me as well. I think the reason.
Hashtag toy box.
Let's not do that. Look, you beat us in set.
I would have chosen
You beat us
Luke
at set
because
for
of
set.
Toy Box, but he was already here.
I don't know about this. I want to hear about this.
And Glenn beat us at set for set, all right? And that's why we haven't spoken in years. Thanks a lot, Jan.
I was going to say, can we put certain words on a list that we're not going to say, and those
And one of them
you've
be
done
toe
two
box?
of them? Well, no, I was going to say another two actually.
No, guys, this is so unfair. Like, I have no idea what this
And this is that, and that's why I would have had the words on the list. That's why.
Makes sense.
To be clear, in case anyone thought there was shade, it wasn't. It was so Paris didn't feel left out.
Oh.
That's bullshit. It was. And why did you choose Paris?
I chose Paris because I think my first port of call in my head was I want someone from the battle scene, because I think in the battle scene, identity is such a high on our
100%.
priority list of things that we need to develop. So, and not to say that it's not in the choreo scene, because I think especially as choreographers, that's also high on your priority list,
Yeah.
I guess. Like your identity is kind of what sells at points, I guess. Like I'm thinking of like Paris Goebel and stuff, and like her identity is the first thing that hits you in the face, you know? But I think in the battle scene, it's like, we talk about it so much, even with like Bite-In, or even with like people that are students of someone else, or like even say in Pop-In with like Boogaloo style, and it's like your identity is based on the style that you
do.
learn and all this, and what you want to express, and how you do that through a style with foundations and structures and all that stuff. But then I was thinking of people, and I think Paris came to my mind in a similar, which is a nice coincidence, in a similar way to why you thought of Glenn, because I think I haven't heard loads, again, personally or publicly, about.
Because I'm quiet. But,
You ain't quiet.
But I think that's good. It's like,
Watch out for them ones.
there's some people that aren't like, all over social media, like talking and saying, this is why I do this is why I do this. And they just kind of do their thing. And that maybe it's not their priority to explain to the whole world how and why they're doing what they're doing, which is, I think, speaks about you two a lot. But I think, especially on a personal level, I was like, it'd be interesting, because Paris does have a really strong identity in the battle scene and in general. I think also one thing that interested me about you in relation to identity is that I don't see your identity as such a manufactured package in the same way that I do with other dancers. And I don't mean that in a negative way at all. But it just seems a bit more naturally like, oh, this is just who I am. And it happens to have like become a thing, if that makes sense. Whereas I think other people have been like, right, what am I putting across? How do I need to look? What's my image kind of thing, which I think is also
I get that
necessary.
feel as well.
Yeah.
I definitely understand.
It just comes across as like, you're just doing your thing, but it just happens to be that everyone's like, oh yeah, Paris, like this is your thing. And so yeah, just interested to hear your thoughts on it. And it was just more of I'm interested to hear what she has to say, rather than I know what she's going to say and it's going to be dope, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Wondrous.
Do we want to pass over to you guys to give an intro about yourselves?
Go for it, Glenn.
Cool. So as they've said, my name is Glenn Hudson. That's as far as my introduction goes.
And that's it.
Yeah. And I'm living.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, when it comes to introductions, I don't know. I say my name and I tell you how I'm feeling. And I'm
So Glenn is are you the sole founder or the co-founder?
So I'm a co-founder. I actually found it with Anthony, who's in Japan. Yeah, so
Anthony
we-
Hutchinson, big up
yes.
yourself.
We both kind of started that together in terms of like choreography and kind of shaping the team in the beginning. So yeah, he's definitely my co-founder as well, which started in 2007. So it's been a while. Obviously he's been in Japan for a good half of that time now. So obviously I was running it with along with other members choreographically, but first it was me and Atlee. Yeah.
So definitives by it. Glenn's talking about definitives, which is, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but
No.
it seems that I have no choice. But no, actually, he was going to speak then. So definitives is...
Definitives is a company now, crew that started in 2007. It was just based off of a conglomerate of people basically coming together and wanting to learn and improve. And from then on, it's just grown and grown and grown. Like just the possibilities of what's come out of Definitives. Every rehearsal is the reason for every other rehearsal. Yeah.
I think, to speak on the greatness of DFAM, I think when companies are as old as DFAM is now, when you can track the people that have passed through it, then that's a big accolade. Same as if I look at who was in Boy Blue when I was there, and to see like where they all are now. It's like a freaking diaspora, if that's how you accentuate that word. It's just like everyone just like pieced out, and you'd never think that they were all in the same place at the same time. Right. Your core is still your core of the company, but just the things that they've all achieved is.
There are many like people that started with me as well. Adrian, Ade, Pebbles, Bams, my sister Anthea, Radel, Joshua, like people who you guys will not hear of at all, but they were a part of the journey, they were part of the venture, and they're all doing big things now. All doing big things now. And even the ones that are with me now, even though they're my core, they're all also themselves individually like growing, and that is one thing for me. Like I've had to take pride in over time. Just look back and just be like, wow. Even if as a team or a collective, even if the goal itself isn't reached, there are individual goals reached, and to be able to see that whilst the team is still here is definitely a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, it's almost a greater and longer lasting legacy than the accolades that we might perceive to be accolades.
Right? What we feel is like the goal, what we feel that we should be achieving may not be achieved because that is just what we think, that's not what it is. That's not what's meant for us.
And I think the goalposts change as well. Like what you start off wanting to achieve changes, but as long as you have a family base to work from, even if someone's like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, now I want to do this. It's like, if you have the grounding to move from, you're still going to be successful in the long run.
Yeah, because you could always come back to it. It's like the core point of why you started, knowing that reason why, and then like branching out. And then
as long as the foundation stays, is imprinted basically in everyone, then you can always come back and go far and then come back. And I think that's what's happened. Like the foundation of Definitives is very much, I don't know if I can use the word stalemate, because it's not going to move. That's just how it is, and everyone's accepted it, everyone understands it, no one debates it, and it's become like a creed that everyone just follows with their art. So definitely it's definitely been able to help with everyone doing their own thing as well as coming together. Just having that foundation solid is definitely what's
and the company still being there, because there's so many crews and companies that fall away when the accolades aren't reached, but the fact that there's still that return to base for everyone.
Yes, that there is because of the process. Just the process of everything, not even the result, but the process. Like everyone talks about how much fun they would have, how much fun they did have doing this, flying here, like thinking about this, going through this trouble. Like, I don't know, there are so many elements to the process that to just let it go would be such a waste. Like we come together, some of us come together, some of us don't, but within a year, at least 5 members have gone through our whole Definitives video history, just because it calls for them. Like Roby will have one, or me and Jazz will have one. Right. Karen will just start looking at videos, or then you guys will start looking at videos, and it's just everyone's just still there. Like the fact that we've had all of that, we just don't want to let that. We kind of don't want to let that go. Even if we are still doing our own thing, it's always been a thing where our core needs to stay exactly the way it is, like because we're going to need something to come back to always, and the way things are changing so fast, even more so, even within our dance industry, like because things change so fast and people come and go and stuff like that, and you have to allow people to have their freedom, you still want to have something that people can remember, legacy, whether it be history, just because you're doing all of this stuff, and it's not for nothing, you know what I mean? And even if it is for nothing for you, apologies, it's for everyone else. There are a lot of people that have come up to me or some other members and have said the reason why they started dancing, the reason why they created this, the reason why they saw this, So just keeping it there along with its history is also going to help as a catalyst, help as an inspiration, like just as a sign, just for people to keep going, just to know that this is still there, So there are like many reasons for the team still being there, but the main thing is the fact that everyone still feels exactly the same way they did day one.
Nice. I think I'm sure I've told this story before. So I don't know if it was on the podcast, but about my first introduction to DFAM was Boroughs United in 2007, I think, and it was at Hackney Empire, and no, but it was like because I was being such a grumpy teenager, and it was just during the tech runs, and I just was on my phone. I didn't care really, and I was like, it was just like, when's our thing, blah blah, and I was next to Sim. And I was just watching, like, I wasn't watching, but he was watching the other techs. And then he was like, check these guys. And I was like, oh, why? Like, what? Blah, blah. Just being grumpy as fuck. I was like 17 or 18. And he was like, no, trust me, like, watch them. You're going to like them. And I was like, who are they?
This sounds exactly like tech time.
Yeah.
This sounds like tech.
Yeah.
Tech.
But I just went from, like, sitting back in my chair, just like, I don't care. And then by the end, I was like, I like these guys.
I love this.
But yeah, and then, so that was way back. But, and I've been a fan ever since.
Oh my god, I must have been like 10 then.
Oh my god, really? No way. How old are you?
I'm 25 now.
Boroughs United was, I think, 08?
Was it 08?
Yes, 08.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it was 08.
It was like, this was like one of the first shows I went to with Ruthless.
I was
like early. Yeah, I would have been like 17, 18.
Yeah, I was 21.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my god. We're
I'm
old.
looking forward to
Are we
these
old?
Stories. You're not old, guys.
I feel like we're old.
No, look at
I
the
don't
youth.
think I'm old. That's why I dress in these bright colours, just to maintain a
Just for
air
the
of
record,
youth.
Tally does not age.
True.
No,
Tally
it's true. Look
doesn't
at her.
age,
Look at her.
boy.
And she always looks fresh.
Does not age.
Always.
I think Tally told me her age once.
I have this fun on like a monthly basis. I got chatted up by like a 23-year-old in the park the other day, and I was with my 23-year-old mate.
Mad.
And I was like, yeah, I'm old, so no. And he's like, how old? It's like 34. He's like, I'm 30. I was like, there's just no way that you're 30. And then he tried to move to my mate. And I was like, what are you doing?
It's like that maneuver shows that you're not 30.
Yeah, like,
It's like you didn't even wait.
You didn't choose, like, it's the odds went in your favour then because you came for me instead of my friend, but you came for me, and that's where this ends because you can't, like, she's been here this whole time. She watched this entire thing go down.
Sick.
So yeah,
Wow.
that's an identity.
And identity. Paris, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself? How you identify yourself?
Yeah, this is such a hard question for me, honestly. So, I mean, I consider myself to be a movement artist, but I know that a lot of people see me as a popper in the scene because that is how they know of me through the underground battles and being with Firehouse Crew. Firehouse Crew is I don't want to say all popping crew because we have members in the crew who do other styles, like Dixon does contemporary, Brooke does a whole other
Everything.
thing.
And like
everything.
Kieran got lazy and stopped doing popping.
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
keep him
yeah.
around because he's good looking, that type of stuff.
Liberties.
He just went for the easy style. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
Shade.
I just love jabbing at him when he's not here to
Love it.
get it back.
No, I know, but actually he's going back into popping because we have this intensive going for
I
like
see you,
2
Kieran.
weeks. So the crew have got funding to do an intensive for 2 weeks, and
Sick.
we're doing this. Yeah, we're just training in the evening, nearly every day together,
Nice.
trying to like keep that bond, keep that home base that we just spoke about.
Yeah, nice.
Because we also understand that everybody's going off and doing their own thing,
Yeah.
which is something that I've been doing a lot over the past, 5 years or so, just trying to go out beyond the battle scene. But it's funny because like even when you were introducing me as somebody from the battle scene,
You don't think of yourself like that?
no, not at all. I mean, I enjoy battles, but I've never really put myself really in it. It's just as and when. And in fact, I think if Sean, for example, didn't push me to do, I think it was like regional conflict at the time, I think I was maybe 15, so like 10 years ago, then I probably wouldn't even have started battling because it's not something that I'm drawn to. The battle aspect, I'm not drawn to it, but it's fun if I'm doing it or if I'm doing it with a team. So I connect to it, but I also disconnect to it, and that's probably why like I do so many other things.
But I guess also it depends on, from which perspective we're speaking, because I guess from your perspective, you're not a part of the battle scene, but from the battle scene's perspective,
because I built that rep. I built that rep, and I don't even know how, because like I said, like I didn't actively put myself in it. It was just and when and over the years, I guess that builds up.
Yes, but also I would say that from the perspective of not being you, like it's not often that we see people that don't really care about battling doing as well as you do. I think that's usually where the assumption comes that, well, you must care because nobody's like beating the people that you're beating or as world renowned as in their style without it being them at least one of their main things, if you know what I mean.
I almost wonder if the fact that I don't care so much is the reason why I built this representation or reputation for myself, because I don't really care to build it. As in why you've done
so well.
Yeah, because
you can say like, that.
You are also.
I was like, I think she's trying to say the reason I might have done so well.
You are also very good at popping, which helps.
Very.
Thank you. But that's what I focused on, like building my foundation and like understanding my craft or what it is within the style.
Yeah. And it just so happens that lends itself to winning battles, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But then everything else that I'm a part of has shaped or has fed into me battling when I do battling. So yeah, it's such a hard one for me to navigate.
Do you dislike being thought of as a
battler?
Yeah.
I don't dislike it. I think it's important. But I don't want people to think that that is all I am, because I feel like I can give so much more in other areas as an artist and not just as a battler. I think it's really important for me, and not just, well, I just don't want to be confined within one box, because then I won't be able to grow as a person, as an artist. And for me, I won't be able to reach like more people if I just stay within this one box, and people keep me in this one box. So yeah.
I guess my question is like, do you think that it's possible for you to be confined by people's, do you know, like my question would be, isn't it more what you choose to do as opposed to how, because if everyone sees you as a battler, like, but then you just doing what you want to do, do you know what I mean? Like, how does that stop you doing what you want to do? If that makes sense.
It doesn't.
Right.
I don't let it stop me.
Okay.
No, I just do whatever it is that I want to do. Whatever I feel connected to, I do. But I have no problem if people see me as a battler. Yeah. Because I can't change that perspective of them, you know? That's for them to keep. And for me to just do what I do. Yeah.
And everyone, I guess, is different to different people who they meet, you know, like, depending on the context of where and when you meet someone, you might think of them in a certain way, or in a, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say actually that's how others
identify.
Oh, sorry. That's how others identify other people. You know, like we just, as human beings, we just group up people within certain segments just to understand it faster. You know. If you've seen Divergent, it's a very good explanation of that shit film. But the theme of that is amazing. Yeah, the theme of that is amazing. Just in terms of how people identify others as well, and it's just easier to understand them. If anything, it's lazier because you're not taking the time to actually understand how they identify. Which is why you can't change people's perspectives. One thing for me is styles. If anything, that's probably why I never dived fully into an individual style or one solely for too long, because it can become your identity, and it can become your identity to other people as well. You know,
definitely.
So yeah.
But I think also it's like, I'm kind of just playing devil's advocate on all of this, but like it's kind of like if you have a friend that you met at boxing, you know, like for the rest of your life, like, or not for the rest of your life, but for a certain period of time, he's the guy from boxing. It's like, oh, you know Jim, like, oh, who's Jim? Oh, you know, he's the guy from boxing, or oh, the guy from football on Tuesday nights. Like, he's that. So like to some people, you're, oh, you know Paris from the battle scene, or to other people, you won't be that, and you'll be, oh, you know Paris from the theatre scene or whatever. And it's like, I think that, that is, as long as what you said is like, and you don't limit yourself based on how you're seen, then you know you can
literally.
Yeah.
kind of go around those perceptions, I guess, or whatever.
As long as you don't hinder yourself by other people's thoughts, or prejudices, judgments, and stuff like that, it's totally fine.
Yeah, because it's kind of like if you were like, oh, I'm a battler, so I need to battle, even if I don't feel it, because the scene is going to judge me. Like, I know a lot of people that do that, and they want to stay relevant, or so they have to keep entering when they don't feel like it, or if they lose, they're like, oh, people are going to think I'm shit because I lost to that guy, and I want to keep. But it's like if you just what you are doing is like doing it when you feel like it, and I'm sure you've taken some L's that you didn't, you weren't happy about, and you've won a few like big ones. So it's like you're more just like, oh, this is what I want to do, as opposed to like, oh, how will people see me based on this thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we're kind of already on the theme of identity. But for my first question into the identity topic, no, this was I was going to ask you guys and this is open to you as well, Tali. Like, did you guys? How much of your identity is consciously built? And I think we kind of touched on that a bit with Paris. But are there bits where you do look at other people's perceptions? You're like, right, I want them to see me like this, or I want to be this type of dancer, or I want to consciously use these influences or anything like that to build your identity consciously? Or is it literally just been like, just this is who I am, and I dance how I dance, and I create what I create, and that's whatever comes out comes out?
I'll go, because I saw Glenn's eyes go to the sky, and was that your intense exhale there?
Very intense. You can go first.
I do what I want, and I think because I have pretty much always done what I want and shared the process of that, I've kind of avoided the pigeonhole. I'm sure people still think Tali, and have their own thing, but I don't think if I maybe asked 50 dancers, there'd be 2 boxes they went in. I think they'd all be all over the shop. And so I think that's afforded me some freedom. Whether or not I'd feel that I had that freedom regardless, I've got no idea. But I think that's allowed me to just stay open to whatever I want to do. I will say that I think it was Michael Naylor that first said it to me, that like you've really built a career on like operating at 30%. It wasn't shade, but it's just like I don't dance naturally at my full capacity,
like physical capacity.
And I haven't and I do think that I consciously chose that, not out of laziness, but like that's what feels nice to me. And there's ways to, like we do it in one of the exercises in the intensive, like there's ways to do that but still have maximum energy behind it. And I think I did lean into that actively, and especially this past year with dancing exclusively at home, there's just a limit to the full out you can do at home. There just is. There's
also a reasoning for it as well. Like I learned that percentage stuff from you actually when I think you were teaching at 68 and I was in that class, and you was giving people percentages, numbers that they should try to, I guess, keep their workout or keep their movement at. You know, I think it's really, really cool to be able to keep yourself contained, I could say, but still able to give off the exact same feeling, if not something different or more, to give off the exact same techniques, if not better or more. Like it's just 30% is just a different way. Like full out is just a different way. You know, it's not better or worse. It's just a different way. And I think that's
it brings a different intention.
Exactly,
to
different
your
intention,
movement.
different mood, different feel. Yeah,
and I think I've maybe managed to keep going this long because I haven't been going hell for leather. Like I don't, because when I auditioned for Red Boy Blues last show, I was in personal training for like 6 weeks before rehearsals even started, because I knew
you knew it was coming.
It's just going to be a killer. But I knew what I had. I mean, I wasn't fully aware because I hadn't really used it, unless I'm going to certain classes that ask a little more of me physically. It was exciting to think like what is actually in the tank. So it keeps it fresh for me, just knowing that there's like reserves that I'm not using. It also, I just like to focus on the task at hand. And I feel like if I'm focusing on stamina and like maintaining in that way, my brain only has so much space to consider the actual shape or the intention behind. So it will always start there. It just seemed to reach a place where it just didn't move from there. Just like, 30's nice.
But I think also like what we were kind of referencing in the last episode about dancing and like dissecting the musicality of a track as opposed to like just other ways of addressing a track, I guess. But I think this is in the same realm where it's like, if for some people part of their dance is, or what they want to express about themselves or what they want to get across is, look how full out I can go. And that's what you should be impressed by. That's what you should be watching. Is like, I know battle is like that. It's like, it's the energy that you can keep up for however many rounds is part of your self-expression. It's like, I'm energetic. And like, I feel like, say with like Glenn's movement, like I don't know if this is intentional or not, or you can definitely speak on that, but watching it, one of the things is like, he wants me to know that, or all of this, the point of this choreography, part of it is like, there's a lot of intricacy that we can achieve. There's an element of like, you should be enjoying this because you probably can't do it, if you know what I mean. And not like in a bad way, but it's kind of the same as like, I don't know, watching the NBA or something. You watch it and you're like, oh my God, like this is good because it's cool what he did and how he beat the defender. But part of, even if it's like 10%, part of watching the NBA is like, it's amazing to watch something I can't do. And I feel like that's the sense I get with Glenn,
100%.
whether or not that's the point. Whereas with Tali, it's like, it's the kind of more feeling that, again, I'm just speaking on my opinion, but like the feeling of like, oh, I could probably do that, but I didn't. And that's like, it's like you chose to do that. And it's the choice that I'm appreciating among a million other things. And there's a lot of crossover that I would appreciate the same thing in both of your choreo. But like, yeah, with Tali, it's like, oh, like, yeah, I could probably do that if she taught me, and like, I've done your classes and stuff like that. Even for a non-dancer, it's like, okay, that doesn't look hard. There's no, like, you know, it doesn't look like I couldn't do that, but she chose to. I would never, why would she choose to do that? Why would she choose? And it's like the choices
That's
that...
exactly how you're supposed to think. When you're looking at someone doing what they do, you ask yourselves, why did they do that?
Sorry.
You ask yourself, why did they do that?
Yeah.
And you dissect upon it, and that's how you learn, you know. You can see it as they're doing it and walk away. You can see it as they're doing it and think, no, they could do more. Or you could see them doing it and think, okay, cool, what are they doing that I could take from it?
Sure.
You know? And,
100%. You analyze the situation, you process it, and then you turn it into what you want.
And I think it's like, we see a lot of that in art, like this kind of, these elements where there's the same with battles and stuff, where there's some people that I'm like, you know, your style is the thing that you're, even if it's like nothing crazy or nothing out of this world, but your style and the way you've put it together is your thing that you're putting out there. And other people, it's like, I just could never do the stuff that you're like, you know, it's just the strength, or, you know, like
Tobias.
Yeah, like in choreo, or like B-Boy Junior or someone like that, where it's like Junior or Pocket, like in beat breaking, like their thing is like, they can do stuff that no one on the floor can do, where it's like other people, it's like, yeah, you can do this, but you didn't choose to do it how or when or why I did it. And I think even if you take it to like, you know, like art that tends to get like a bit of an uproar because it's like, what the fuck is this? Like the banana taped on the wall and stuff.
Oh,
do you remember
I see what
that?
you mean.
It's like, that's a bit of a wild one, but like art pieces and like paintings and stuff that's not necessarily skill based, sometimes you could look at it and go like, oh, what, like I could do that, but the thing is you didn't and they did, so it's like that's kind of the artistic expression in that. Is like, yeah, I thought of this and I put this on a wall. Yeah, you could have done it, but I didn't. I did it.
I win, bye.
So yeah, I just think it's like different approaches, but
I guess that just depends on the person and their artistic eye in general and what they've experienced, what they've been through. Because that will ultimately affect how they see art in general, you know?
I think the perception thing is really interesting when it comes to the identity chat, and I will need reminding of your initial question.
just
Definitely
the consciousness in creating your identity, or
but
whether it was natural.
I just wanted to speak on not necessarily the hip hop label, but I spoke to a student of mine not too long ago, and they we're talking about the styles that they can see, like they're buried really deep in there, but they can see that they're in there. And one thing that I did, it's wavered over the years, but mostly chose not to do, is bring them closer to the surface for the culture's sake. Like for the sake of me being able to belong over there, let me not have my hands like this, let me make sure they're like this. Because I think I did a showcase in Tyrone, just like, it's just so interesting, like your lines are like just off, or like they're really familiar shapes and patterns, but like not
abstract
quite. And it's not like I make the line and then I'm like, let me just make it a bit jigger jagger just because, like it just goes where it goes. But I've noticed that I like, wow, this would just be a completely different thing if I straightened it up. But yeah, just choosing not to do that. But then I would say, I think through sessions and like taking Sheldon's class fairly regularly, just wanting to pay attention to hip hop and like be a bit more active with getting the groove and the bounce in there amongst what is already there. Just kind of going back to where I started again with everything that I have now, just to see what happens to the language.
So like, how can you learn a style and then bend that style to suit you and your personality?
I think just through the lack of continuing to train it, and because I went down more of a contemporary lane, still in the realms with choreography, but it just, the approaches were different. It wasn't exactly like corner work vibes, but it had a different thing. And also it was the first time that I felt something in my dance other than excitement to dance, tired from dance, like the action, like the emotional connection to it. And I think that the desire to do more of that kind of made the choreo and the hip hop fall away. And then so that happened, and then I was like, yeah, but what music am I listening to? It ain't folk, it's hip hop. So let me just try and get that more. But it wasn't about trying to make it something else. It just kind of happened. Yeah.
And what about for you guys in terms of your like creating the identity that people, I think, you know, we kind of touched on it with you, Paris, but like, how do you feel about how much, was there any percentage of like, this is the identity I want to create as an artist and this is how I want to either be seen or just be, and like working towards that? Or was it just, it develops as it develops?
At a point, it does, it does develop on its own. You don't understand why you're making the choices, but you know you want to make these choices. And I think for me, over time, I started to realize, cool, the choices that I'm making are very much against our present time. They're always based around how I feel and what I think and what I want to kind of do. And only now, later on in time, have I made a conscious decision to not go through the same door as everyone else, because there are just too many different options. Like, from seeing so much dance and seeing so much things happen like in your time alive, there is so much information for you to take from to do something completely different. For me personally, I don't get it.
Yeah.
What don't you get?
I don't get not trying to be yourself. You know what I mean? That identity, like that's what moves me. I don't like that. For the first lockdown 2020, I was not moving. My identity wasn't dancing. There was no movement at all. Like I didn't have no purpose for it. I didn't want it. Just I was gaming. I was doing my thing. But this year, it crept back into me. It just came. It comes on its own. Like, what is it that you want to do? Okay, cool. I'm gonna fully try to push this. So yeah, I think over time, it may not be known to you, your identity, but you do know, and it is there. And I think by the end, when you get a bit comfortable with what it is that you want to do, you start to claim what that identity is. Or for me, I claimed what that identity was, and that for me is to not necessarily be different, because we are all different anyway. Even when someone tries to be the same, they're going to be different, you know. But it was more just a conscious effort to help put something else on the canvas. I feel like being a catalyst or just doing something different is going to help stir the pot in a different way, so that you're getting a different look and a different feel when you're catalysting the inspiration in someone else in a different way. I think from my time in Definitives, with them guys allowing me to lead them and train them and stuff like that, I was able to understand that is very, very, very important, to be able to pick your own way of doing something, and doing that. Still being able to fit a mold, and that's where the thought process goes. I just think identity is really you thinking and taking the time out, and wanting to put the work ethic into making sure that identity becomes what it is that you see and what it is you think, you know. Not having that identity is the easiest thing ever. Like being in the shadows is so easy. I loved being in the back when all my sets, like I'd never wanted to be in the front. Like just hiding is fine. It's blessed, you know. It's so much harder to claim your identity and walk that same path. But for me, it's the most righteous. It's done me the most favors. It's kept me on my path. So yeah, I think it grew over time. I didn't know, but by the end I claimed it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How about you, Paris?
In terms of my style,
or just your identity as a mover?
As a mover, for me, it kind of relates to my style. So how I built my style is, yes, I started training popping and just focusing primarily just on that. And then as I traveled and I came across different kinds of people who also did the same style, but who also ventured outside of their style. So meeting other dancers who do popping as well as contemporary, or popping and breaking, that inspired me, like watching them dance, to also learn other dance techniques and cultures. And then I just was like, oh wow, okay, I want to change up the way I move. And I made that conscious decision to learn different styles in order to change my style.
Was that based on any one thing? Like, was that like, I don't want to look like all the other poppers?
Yeah.
Or, right, it was that?
Really. I
Okay.
remember when I was, I think, 16, 17, and I think I'd done probably maybe 2-3 battles. And I remember somebody coming up to me and saying, oh, you're good, but you repeat yourself a lot. And that just stuck with me completely, because I hated it. I hated it with a passion, because I don't like the idea of, I mean, to repeat yourself is beautiful in its own essence if you're creating work, etc. Right?
Like,
but
as a technique.
As a technique.
Yeah.
But then for me to be able to move and to be free within my movement is what I truly aimed for and was super passionate about. And so that's why I was like, okay, let me learn these other styles so that I can find different mind patterns and movement patterns to research within my own physical body.
Intelligent movers are just my favorite.
What I mean?
It is such, okay, I'm not going to say that, but it's such a great thing.
I want to know what you weren't going to say.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't think we talk about dance very often, so there may well be more intelligent movers than I'm aware of, but it's just the level of analysis and being able to speak on that is really, really
I think we
nice
spoke
to hear.
about this in the last one as well, but like, I think there's a lot of emphasis put on like let go and raw movement and do whatever comes to your mind and this type of thing, as opposed to, and it's almost not quite stigmatized but close in the sense of like, oh, you were thinking too much, that's always a bad thing, or you're overthinking this and that, rather than like complimenting, like, I love people that think and consider their movement.
But it's so interesting to me because I feel like, well, in terms of my process, I had to think in order to be free. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, come on.
Like, I have to think when I'm practicing, like, I have to think, oh, okay, but I'm constantly going back to here. So how can I break that habit?
Yeah.
And then once I
It's
break
impossible
the habit,
to if you don't think about it.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like I talk about it in the intensive in quite in extreme terms, but you know, I always say you've all done a round where you've left and been like, I have no idea what I did.
Yeah.
And how amazing that there's a subconscious body connect, that it still is past, you didn't just collapse in a heap on the floor. Like things happen. But would it not be a more enjoyable, productive, fruitful round if in real time you were choosing what you wanted to do?
And I think also it's like, for me, I get a very different, like I've had moments where I completely blacked out for want of a better phrase.
And there is space for that.
Yeah, and it feels good, but like, I find I get into this, like, I've heard people kind of describe it as like flow state, or I don't know much to use that term, but like,
you're going to say you don't believe in it?
No. No, Tali, don't draw me in.
I mean, I've experienced it.
Tally's like,
in our intro pod, we have different approaches to, or beliefs in spirituality or not. So I thought there was a chance you was going to say that like flow state's not a thing.
No, not at all. She loves reeling me into these. No, not at all. But I have kind of experienced that, where the way I would describe it is it's like I get into a place where it's like, you know, when you're playing Mario Kart and you get the little colourful star and it's like you can just drive where the fuck you want and everything works. Sometimes I've had that when I'm so in the moment that I'm like, I think I'm going to try this. It worked. I think I'm going to just go this way. Oh, I fell in the perfect position on beat. Like everything is working. And I can only get to that like Mario Kart state by thinking a lot. And it's just
flow state.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's why I say, but that's how I would describe it, as like the Mario Kart thing. But I'm saying I can't say flow state because I haven't researched enough to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it does feel like I'm in that moment and I'm like, that only happens to me when I think a lot. And it just happens that I supersede the overthinking moment and I get to the moment where I'm thinking, my brain's just on fire. Like everything connects, this goes here. And like, you know, the X-Men slow motion scene when he's running.
Quicksilver.
That's how I feel like everything's slowed down, even the music. And I'm like, what shall I do next? Let's do this. Boop. But yeah, so
I feel like that's almost like the reward for analysis and thinking is that the time comes, whether it's like a time of day or just like, whether it's a time of day or it just comes and then that's just what it is for you forever. I think that is like the sweet spot between like thinking so you can be free. I think that's kind of
it's like
defined really.
If anything, when you in that flow state, if anything, your subconscious is taking over.
Sorry,
my bad. No, I just want to talk. I've got to that point where I just want to talk. Like, what is this? This needs to get out of my face. This needs to go. This table needs to go.
If you put it down there so you can do your normal Glen.
Wherever like makes you.
Coffee break.
You know, I'm just going to hold it. I think this is so much better. Wait. Yeah, I'm going to sing.
Voila.
Yeah, like I feel like it's like you're learning from your subconscious. Like you let your subconscious do what it does. It does what it does, and then you need to then take the time to go back and think about that. Like that is your responsibility to do so. You can let it go, but I feel like that's where that's where that reward comes from. So, like I think was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that for me when so basically after World of Dance 2016, the Finians had to kind of slow down because of our rehearsal space. We was at the VAS, but we got moved out of the VAS. I mean, we've been there ever since we started, so that's the reason why we've been able to stay alive, really and truly, because we wasn't paying the fees that everyone else we heard were paying. We were paying 50p to come into a building.
Sick.
So when that stopped, we all stopped. But I then got into a state where I was thinking about my choreography, and I wanted to be able to access the things that I normally have hours to access. You know. And I was working for a whole year and a half. I was working on how to access the things that normally take me 5 hours. How do I access them straight away? So I was really thinking about that, which is why I agree with the whole like flow state. Like you need to go back and think about the times, try to recall them, the times where you've done this and you've done that. Because if you've done it, it could be done. Simple as. So you just need to gather that back and then learn about it constantly over and over again. Like if you are a dancer, that's why I say to a lot of people that take my class, I say, you take my class, great, couple months, good, but then I need you to go away and not come back, because I need you to think about what it is that you're doing. Otherwise you're going to come back, and I know people that do that, come back, and I know exactly how they look. So I need them to think, because I know that you haven't sat with the movement, because you look like the same, a square version of me, basically. You know, but I need you to think about what it is you've done, understand that technique, that thing, and then try to do it again in your own way, you know. So yeah, your subconscious, acts and you learn from that. I think that's where that reward comes from, like Tali was saying.
Yeah.
And do you guys think that there's, so we were kind of talking about, like, say, with Paris, like the perception and then versus your intent, let's say perception versus intention, and identity, I feel like is maybe somewhere in between that, would you say? In the sense that let's say, like, what if we ask the question, like, what is Tali's identity? There's two ways you could take that question, in my opinion. Like, one would be like
how I'm seen, or
how you're seen, or how do you
see yourself
or put yourself into the world. Like, I want to be seen like this. But in my opinion, the most objective way we can look at it is the middle of those two, because it's like your identity is not 100% how you put in your intention, because then people might not be like, no, that's not anything to do with you. And it's not 100% how people perceive you, because it's like, well, Tali might
be involved, please.
Yeah, because like, say what Paris was saying, like, she might be 100%, I'm not saying she is, but she might be 100% perceived as a battler. But if she doesn't think of herself as a battler, we can't say that she's 100% a battler.
Right.
But we can't say that she's 100% not a battler. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So where do you find, have you ever battled with those two things? Have you ever even like, got more into one than the other, or like spent too much time worrying about your perception, I guess? Or do you think it's better to just work from intention and leave everything else open?
That's how I work. You should.
Yeah.
Naturally, I feel like when I was pursuing commercial work, that would have been the clash, because I was trying to fit.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily want, or I wanted to, because that's what I thought that you were supposed to want to do. Like that, if you're a professional dancer, then that's the pinnacle, like the stage, the screen.
Yes, right.
I can't say I knew myself well enough as a mover to know what places in that space might have suited me. To be honest, then I can't say there would have been many. It wasn't as alternative and open as it is now, but it was just so what do I need to do to fit? That even down to like the photo shoots that I would have done back in the day. Right. You've seen when I've got like an orange toy watch on, I've got like feather lashes. I've got like a Mohican.
Yeah.
How have I never seen these?
I don't even have a top on to boot.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this. But I'm there like with a pink lip, orange watch, blue eyeshadow. Like there's so much going on. And
it was
Glenn's trying to process.
I've got photos of me stood on a train platform. I think it was Hither Green, and I'm wearing lingerie with a leather jacket on top.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I look sick.
I think I've seen one of those.
I love the claiming. Yes.
But literally commuters just on the train, and I'm there like
no one can envision
Serving
what you're
looks.
saying right now. Just so you know, they do that.
it's on the internet.
impossible.
It's on the internet.
Oh my god.
It's impossible.
But I was just doing what I felt was needed, and I do this in life to my detriment sometimes in the realm of romantic relationships I have in the past at least. But I just try to lead with doing what I want regardless of the result, because if I don't do what I want and then it doesn't go my way, that's like two losses. Whereas if I do what I want, it doesn't go my way, at least I did what I want. If I do what I want and I get what I want, then win-win. So I learned in that time that just doesn't work for me, because I'm not getting the jobs and I don't want to represent myself this way. So I'm just losing.
That's a lose.
Completely.
100%.
And it got to the point where there was one audition in particular, and I knew I didn't want to go. The resistance was so real, but I just knew there was no actual reason for me not to go, because I had nothing else to do. But in that moment, it was really hard for me to accept that not wanting to go was enough of a reason to not go.
Yeah.
And it's such a hard, I mean, I must have been like 20, 21. But to think that I put myself through that as well, and that was all self-inflicted, is really sad for me to think back and think that I did that.
Do you know what? Yeah,
to myself.
it's not totally. It wouldn't. It's not totally your fault because of our surroundings, what we live in, what we know of what we're trying to get to. Again, all those things are going to be at some point implemented into our art because we want to get there. You know, we have to. We're going to be considerate of. Okay, cool. I want this, but I also may need to do this just so it kind of works. You know? And obviously, but if you are someone with a strong identity, it's gonna irk you and you're gonna follow it. Yeah.
I mean, but I didn't have that. I don't think I knew who I was, but I knew who I wasn't. But I didn't listen to that. Same as, you know, just not wanting to go being enough. I didn't, the knots of it weren't enough for me. Like, they weren't rooted in anything. So I still felt like I had to go. But I say to my students now, like, even if the more you don't know, like, I know I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. Like, the more of that you can trim away, the closer you will naturally get to what it is that you want to do. But you're not set up to, it's like, what do you want to do? It's not like, is there anything you know for sure you don't want to do? Like, that is such a valid question.
Also a weird question to ask kids, because when I think about it now,
options and degrees at it's the wildest thing.
You just ask them, what do you want to be? Don't ask me. Like, I just learned how to walk. I learned how to shit last week, bro. Do you know what I mean? I just learned how to write my name, and you asking me what do I want to be?
And there's no one thing that you can be anyway. We're all constantly evolving and changing as people, so we're gonna experience different things anyway.
So that, again, what you said to things you knew, but they weren't tethered to anything. You didn't fully understand why you didn't want to be that, but you just knew you didn't want to be that, you know? So I guess that was the identity picking itself up or coming together at that time,
Yeah, and I think that's such a thing. I don't know if it's linked with this, like, you're going to laugh, but like linked with this like positive vibes only kind of mentality.
You're mocking my entire moral compass. You're not. You're not.
I know, I'm not. No, but like, I don't know if it's linked with that or if I'm just using that as an excuse to take a cheap shot. But it's like we almost like we almost dismiss the feeling of disliking or not wanting something. And I'm sure I made a status about this the other day or something, but I lose track of my own fucking rants. But like it was on the Artist for Artists post that I made. But like like what you don't want to do is equally as valid to what you do want to do, and it's like equally as important. And stuff that is a negative experience is equally as as big of a lesson as things that you do want to do. And I think we're told like, you know, it's like, I was referencing in the post that I wrote, I was referencing us watching dance pieces, and it's often we don't want to be like, I just thought that was shit, like, or it's kind of discouraged to just be like, I don't like this.
Whereas there's nothing wrong with that.
No. And I think you can, especially if you're an artist,
you're supposed to.
And you can learn so much from like, I don't like that, but it's not to go like, I don't like that, fuck them, I'm going home. Like, it's like, why don't you like that? What is it? Is it your personal preference? Break it down. And it's the same, like, let's say we go into an audition, like, I don't want to go to this thing. All right, stop. Why? What's the problem? What do you feel? Blah, blah, blah. The deeper you dig, you're going to get to the root of it, and you're going to be like, oh, this is like who I am, and this is why. And I think you need a balance. Of course, you don't want to just shit on everything that comes across, but
I hate that.
Yeah, I think it is the yin and the yang kind of situation where it's like you need to recognize what you love and recognize what you want to do and what makes you feel good, but also equally give attention to what you don't like and what you don't want to do. Yeah. And somewhere in the middle is who you are, I would say.
It's good.
On the middle thing, because I'm aware I'm just like answering at length every question that Luke asked, and then we're not coming back around to
it's like, so how are you today, Paris? Until he's like, well, I'm great. Hey. I said that for comedic effect. It's not true.
It didn't land here.
Look, the guests are laughing, all right?
Did either of you have an issue with, or have you had an issue with the two kind of perception versus your take on your identity?
I would say more so when I was younger and I was just beginning, like dance and training and popping, because there's this perception that, you know, female poppers need to pop just as hard as men.
Right.
Dress a specific way, that's not too feminine so that they can be taken seriously, etc. And I think I didn't consciously feed into that, but I did. Because I didn't want to be seen as like a pretty girl who can pop and then get like pretty privilege for when I do pop, you know, because that is a thing, having these props for being cute, you know. I didn't want to be seen like that, but at the same time I didn't want to discourage my femininity, because that's who I am, you know, who I naturally am, and I shouldn't have to hide that away to suit other people.
Yeah, like why should you if you're a pretty girl who pops, why should you have to make yourself not pretty to pop? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, even if it's working for you or against you or whatever.
Yeah, but then when you do that, it's like, oh yeah, she's a pretty girl, like, and she can kind of pop, so
like people blame it on that. As opposed to recognizing the skill set.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just...
But there's, I mean, tell me if you agree with me, but there's a lot of that in the battle scene, I think, with different things. So, like, you have the same thing for kids. Who are good. It's like people will blame that on, but it's just kid props.
I think it's an easy thing for the person to think that. I think it's a way for them not to let themselves down.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying, oh yeah, she's cute and she can pop, that's you're lowering the standards of that.
Yeah.
I mean, because
I think
you
a lot
see the person's talent.
Yeah. And it's a lot of times like people use, again, tell me if you agree, but like people use it as an excuse when they lost.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's just because she's good looking, that's why she beat me.
Or they're just seeing something that's better than what they
or don't
do.
want
like,
to
there's got to be a reason why.
Right.
Because she's pretty.
Yeah. No one's really, I'm not going to judge someone because of how they look or...
It makes no sense.
Yeah. You can pop or you can't. Simple.
Yeah. And then I guess the other identity thing would be like me many times being the only girl in a male driven crew or group. And then me being used as the only girl, you know? Right. Yeah. So like, for example, if I'm doing like a 4v4 and I have 3 other guys with me, and in the other crew there's another girl, the girl has to go against the girl, because that must be a thing, you know? I hate that, like women being put up against other women because of apparently we must have the same level or...
And would you, maybe at slight risk of getting shit on about what I'm about to say, do you think that holds a little bit of weight if we were to talk about like breaking, where the difference between B-girling and B-boying is recognizable to an extent,
so recognizable.
Where as in popping, what's to say that you can't pop as well as a guy, if that makes sense? Because I've spoken to like, and the reason I'm saying this publicly is because I've spoken to B-girls about it, and I think I know enough to be able to say like there is a difference between the strength faculties, maybe is the right word, between like what B-girls can do and what B-boys can do. Not to say that the styles can't be equal and what B-girls are bringing to the table, etc., etc. If you know me, you know I'm not being sexist, but I think maybe if it was like in breaking, it's like, all right, well, there's the B-girl and then the B-girl, because you guys have a certain thing that B-girl has developed that you guys need to combat. But in popping, I don't see that big of a gap between the way girls pop and the way guys pop, even style-wise, for that to be a relevant thing for like, Paris needs to battle the girl, because why? Like, you've smoked guys and guys have smoked girls. Like, it doesn't...
it's there.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's there, but it's there.
It's a laziness, isn't it?
It is.
And it would be weird to be like, yo, all right, you've got brown hair, so you take the brown hair guy. And like,
so
all right, you take the tall guy. And it's like, it's just like, why is this like another thing that we're... Yeah.
Do you push back on it when it happens?
Yeah, I do. I immediately am just like, no, I'm going to take this person. Just be assertive.
That. Sick.
What would you, just out of curiosity while we're here, what would you, if you're in a 4-on-4 and you were going against someone, who would you look for to try and, like, is it about matching the style? Is it just in battle tactics wise? Who would you point out as like, that's who I'm taking?
I'll look for the person who I think who can challenge me the most.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I love a good challenge. Because, I don't know, watching somebody like really go into their craft and not get, how do I put this? I don't know how to put it, but watching somebody really go into their craft inspires me to also dig deep within my own.
So someone that's going to push you to do a good round.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that like about how good they are, or like how much you like their dance, or something like that?
I think it's both.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think they must have a certain level for me to be like,
yeah, of course,
they're gonna challenge me. Also stylistically.
For all the anime watchers, she is a Saiyan.
Are you an anime watcher?
I'm not an anime watcher. No.
Okay. All anime watchers.
There'll be people out there that are like siding with you.
So basically, because it's what we do as well, actually. D-Fam started off that as well. Like, we want the challenge. Like, I can't even lie. Like, we went to...
like in Set for Set, when you went against that really dope crew, you know,
crew.
Like, that really challenged you.
No, you guys did actually. When I saw when Tony Watts came onto the scene, it was a threat, can't lie. So going up against you was definitely a thing that we wanted.
And then they beat us, so it was a happy ending.
It was love.
But yeah, like even like the way we felt like in 2016, it's gonna be honest with it. Like we came on closer to the beginning. And even after we won, like we were annoyed.
In which way was this?
This is 2016. Even when we won, we just felt like, I don't know, we felt like people came to showcase, and I don't ever want to compete against people who already have low self-esteem or don't feel like they're going to win or don't feel like they can't. I don't want to do any of that at all, because that does nothing for our status. That does nothing for our skill or talent. It has no respect. You don't get nothing for it. So you have to want to challenge the best, because then you don't have to speak. You let your dancing speak. Your dancing will speak when you are beating people that are challenges, you know, and that's the thing that will stop people from talking. Whereas if you're only going up against easy people, I think that can take that person out. Even though it's smart in terms of winning the goal or money, it says nothing for.
How do you grow?
Yeah, there's nothing for the identity. It's a team thing, great, but for identity, it's not. And identity-wise, even as a group, each person needs to be identifiable in terms of strength as well, like even as a team, you know. So I definitely get that, which is why I'm calling her a Saiyan, because in Dragon Ball Z, the Saiyan race, they only like to go up against strong fighters, even if they're gonna die. So
yeah,
that's
interesting. Yeah, and I think it's also like the whole idea of competition. I find it a bit weird in the dance scene sometimes, even in the battle scene, which I feel like is maybe. I find it a bit better in the battle scene than the small bit I did in the choreo scene. But like, I'm all for like shake hands and you know, it's a friendly competition. But while we're competing, let's go for it.
Yes.
Like I played basketball for years before I danced, and I was never that great at it. But anytime I was playing, even if it was with my best friends or something, it's like we're going ham and we're like swearing at each other and like
bowled with him.
Oh yeah.
And my goodness, he was getting on my
Me and Quayle pissed her off so much.
Chill with Luke, man.
But you know what it's like we were a bit drunk, but like me and Quayle were like bowling. But like, you know when you do that, like you're funny, like you're like, oh, what was that? Come on here, you're not going to beat me. Like just going in on each other.
Talk.
And she was like, I thought we were having fun here. That is what's happening.
That sounds exactly like
I can get a little bit aggy when I've had a drink or two. So just where we were headed was just like
separate
opposite ends. So I was just like, shut up.
But this is what I love about our friendship. Like, I'm sure there was a moment when she was just like, you're being very annoying right now. There's no like passive aggressive. It's just straight up, you're annoying me right now. But no, I think
genuinely pissed.
I think that's the thing with competition. It's like, I don't want to, if I'm going to lose, I want you to try and smoke me. Yeah. Like I've had some battles where I've battled like, and I'm nowhere near like world level, but I've battled like top class battlers who, as soon as we stepped on the floor, this was just a speed bump on their way to the...
Right, so they weren't going in.
Yeah, and they sometimes I've been smoked, like I've been taken out by good people, and I kind of love that.
Yeah.
Because as my friend once put it, like, is like you're get a front row seat to the sick round. So I'm like, cool, I'll take it like that. But if I know that you're... we both know you're going to win this battle, but like, don't just half-ass it and save your energy for the, like, it's disrespectful.
I was just about to say that. It's about respect. Yeah.
Although I will put this one caveat. Caveat? Is that how you say that?
Caveat, yeah.
If you try, like, and I wouldn't advocate for this, if you're trying to disrespect me, that's the way to do it. Like, if we have a personal issue, and you, or if I have a personal issue with the person, and I half-ass my round and still win, that is That is golden
Yeah.
disrespect.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. Like,
Yeah.
but if that's your like, if that's what you're trying to do, you're trying to show me up in a battle, and you half-ass it to make a point. Fine.
That makes me think of like DFAM and what if they, like, I don't know, just looked at the running order or just like knew who was competing, just like, let's mark it, guys.
I would actually love to see that.
Let's just don't even take off your coat.
You know what?
Let's just do it with our backs on.
There is so much smack talking rehearsal.
Disrespect.
You know what I'd love to see one time in a battle is like someone goes second, does 30 seconds of a 1 minute round and just stops. Just
Visions of that.
I did enough.
Which would be so funny. I've had visions of that. It's really disrespectful.
Just get halfway through, killing it, and just stop the round and go, well,
Nah,
I don't need to
work
finish
is
this.
done.
Yeah, just stand there in the middle and count down the time.
and then still win. It's just
Nah.
amazing.
No, but yeah, I think the point being is like, look, if we're competing, let's go for it. Afterwards, we can shake hands. Nice,
Yeah.
well done. You know, it doesn't have to be personal.
Yeah, because it's gonna bring the best out of you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
it really, really is. Like pressure, all of that stuff. Like human beings thrive off it. Like people may shun it away because it may feel negative. It may seem negative towards them, or they may not deal with it well. But human beings thrive off pressure. Anytime we're brought onto any sort of brink of something bad, you're gonna evolve. You know.
Yeah.
So,
And it's okay to like admit that you want to win.
yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
100%. Yeah.
Like, you know what, Paris, tell me if I'm wrong on this,
Yeah.
right? In the battle scene, and I realize this, and I've been looking for it ever since, and I can't see it. I've never seen someone win something that, and literally, like, not the finals, because when people win the finals, they celebrate.
Yeah.
But I've never seen someone win in the top 16 and go, yes.
No, never.
They
'Cause
just
think
act
about
like-
the next round, innit? They think about the next round.
But it's like they've got to feel that inside. They just kind of act like,
Inside,
nice round, nice round. But you've got, like, I've done that.
But they don't want to do
I'm
that.
gonna do
and
that
then
if I
fuck
ever
up the next round.
battle again and get through prelims.
Please
If I
do.
hear my name, I'll be like, yeah!
Oh, I think I've done prelims once in Germany. I didn't get through. So if I get through in the prelims,
Yeah.
I'm definitely going.
Just a good old fist
Yeah.
pump.
Did it?
No,
Mama
I
did it.
did. I'm actually dead. I can't even.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so funny.
No, but I think that's part of what you said. Like, it is okay to say that you want to
Yeah,
win, and
yeah.
to say that you not only want to win, but you want to beat someone who tried their hardest.
Yeah.
Like, not that you gave up and you gave me the win. Like, you tried your hardest and I still won. Like, it feels good.
Yeah.
And that's the point of competition, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This makes me think about your circle and who you train with, and making sure the people in your circle reflect you, and they also reflect. Wait, you reflect them and they reflect you.
Yeah.
Because there's a mutual respect,
Yeah.
and they will go hard at you and you will go hard at them. I just want to say that.
Off the back of that, I'm interested. It might not be your circles now, but are there like really, really top, like if I say influences that have contributed to your identity, like are there people that come to mind straight away?
Julia Cheng, for sure. I think she really brought out the feminine. I don't even want to say feminine, but the woman in me and within my style as well. Just by her being her.
Nice.
Definitely like Brooke, Dixon, and Sean, because they're so tense that it's so hard. No offense, guys, if you're watching this.
Yes, offense.
They're so tense. It's hard for me to not have that rub off on me.
Yeah, right.
God, there's so many people. Anyways, yeah, go for it.
I don't have anyone individually. My team in general, they like. That's why I'm always talking about my team, because they are my circle when it comes to like the movement. Like Tali's part of that circle as well. Like everyone around me, they will always challenge or question me. Whether I'm the leader or not, nothing is ever like yes, Glenn. It's always challenged. Something has to be challenged. You have to be challenged in some way. And if they're not telling you no, they're giving you a better idea. Better advice, better reason, etc. So yeah.
That's interesting, yeah.
In terms of me placing myself in a circle, I did that with to excess actually. When I was like very much not comfortable with moving feminine at all, like at all. Like it was very much body vomit. Is that, can you say body vomit?
I did not know that was going to be at the end of that
Just in terms of, just in terms of how my body would react. Like I remember I remember being an AG for the first time and learning contemporary from Sarah, and this was like day one after the audition of getting in, and my body just vomited. Like I've never felt such rejection from my body on the outside, you know. And obviously, first when I did that with Sarah and AG, when I first got into AG, after that I then threw myself into another circle, which was the 2XS circle, and realized that I didn't like anything about this at all, like naturally anyway. Even the way they dealt with the rehearsals and stuff, but I got used to it and I learned from it. And joining 2XS, like jumping into the camp style that Cisco very much goes in for, like his quirky stuff very much taught me to be more open. Because that diversified my movement, and in terms of the shapes that I can go for, I very much found that when I was in 2XS. Not that I didn't find that in AG as well, but 2XS was the movement. It was just not me at all, especially me being very much identified as this very road guy at that time as well.
It like cracked your comfort zone open a bit.
Yeah, it cracked it fully, man. Even though I couldn't do it too well, and I remember Calvin being there at the wrong time, filming at the wrong time. Calvin, if you're listening, man, delete that. I know you still got it on your cam, bro. Delete. Or send that to me quick.
Before you delete it.
Yeah, Joey, I had to see that. I was learning how to tip that rehearsal, family.
Oh my
God. No.
Please.
You know what I learned from it? And I can tip. Don't tell me. Don't tell me I can't tip, man.
Correctly.
I learned from the Don. So yeah. You have to have people in your circle that challenge you, that you will grow. You can't, like, comfortability anywhere is gonna set you back or set you still. So your circle needs to be challenged.
Do you think your circle, like, it seeps into you, the identity and the, like, how they kind of are, and whether it's like dance identity or just as a person, like that, the people that you surround yourself with, it kind of becomes a part of you, I guess?
If you're honest, if you're honest with yourself and you're honest with what it is that you like and don't like and want to involve in yourself, what to put in yourself, you will take from others in the right way. But if you're not honest with yourself and you think that you don't need to change or you don't need to evolve, then you won't see those details in your people. And even if you do, you won't take them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me how the people that I am most inspired by are my favorite people. And I wonder if they are genuinely some of, like, the world's greatest dancers. But I wonder how much of that is perception, because it's most important for me to be surrounded by my favorite people than to be in a room full of the world's best that I just can't stand.
Right.
Like, that's a sacrifice I'd be willing to make. But I don't know if I've just lucked out that genuinely the people that I session with and learn so much from and are inspired by art do happen to also be, like,
awesome,
my best.
But are there people that you don't necessarily know personally that you're still inspired by a lot? Do you know what I mean? That there might be arseholes, but you don't know. Like, there's definitely dancers like that for me, where I'm like, I watch your videos, I'm inspired by you, but I don't know. You could be an arsehole.
I guess I don't, because I don't follow anyone anymore. I'm not. It's trickier for me to come across. Because I'm gonna be I naturally seek out my friends and see what they're sharing. I think if those people came to mind, I would have no problem, like, looking at their stuff and appreciating it regardless of not liking them. But I just think my priorities are just different now. And as I said in our intro, this is like a 34-year-old, 15 plus years doing it perspective. So it's not a common thing for me to actively seek out new dance stuff. Like, it will come at the beginning of a project as opposed to just... It's as that time of night and let me just look for that.
Yeah, like you're saying, you have 15 years of input from other artists.
Like, honestly, I wouldn't even know how to estimate the number of combos that I've learned. I thought about this the other day. Like, I wouldn't even know if it would be, like, the hundreds, the thousands, the tens of thousands, the hundreds. Like, I have no idea how to quantify that. And it's a bit of a tangent, but I don't know about you guys when you learn choreography, if you naturally retain it. I used to naturally retain.
Oh no.
Even if I didn't need it, it would just still be there. Now, out.
Now, gone. I don't even remember my own stuff.
Neither do I.
Right?
I keep it.
Yo, so I've been having this issue. Like the last piece of choreography that I made that was crazy was the Dance to Delight one.
Oh my God.
The Eminem one.
That was
hurt
just
to
some
watch.
relentless.
Cool. So
business.
right after that, I felt like my abilities vanished.
Oh my God.
Like you shot your shot
Yeah,
all over
and everything
it.
was gone. I couldn't create. I couldn't create to that extent for the next 6 months. I couldn't. I still to this day can't remember the choreography.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
But I think as we get older and our processes kind of refine, your brain knows or knew that it was for that thing and you've done that thing. So make space. Don't
Yeah.
need
I
you.
see.
Yeah,
That's
I think that's exactly
Yeah.
sorry, that's
No.
exactly what I think in my brain is happening because
Mm.
I do not hold on to anything that I've already achieved. The teachings, the techniques, the lessons, I already know them. So I just hold on to that.
And
This
it
is
might
like-
take longer to relearn if you needed to,
Yeah.
but it's still not worth holding on to all of that
Yeah.
info
You know
for
it's
that
like
time you don't
expendable.
know about
Yeah.
yet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
I hold on to everything because I'm
That's
still in that phase of keep on learning.
And
Maybe.
possibly like naturally
It might be your
have
brain,
the
yeah.
capacity, like we're
Yeah.
old now and our brains are shrinking.
It's
so
But that was even when I first started doing classes, like that was my problem. Like,
retaining.
yeah, it's like I do the class and then by the end of it, okay, I can do the routine. If you ask me 10 minutes after we walked out of the class, like, oh, let's go over the routine. I'm like, what do you mean? I don't remember it. Like, I'm just like, all right, we're done. Because I know, like, not rehearsals, but like class combos that I know are just for that day. It's gone. I'm like, I
Who's
don't need
been
this.
in the wings at a show and gone, how's it start?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When the
Oh,
nerves
man,
kick in,
anxiety
you're
just
like, what
kicked
was the
in.
first move?
Yo,
I can't be around you lot.
one of the worst.
And
Move
if
from
I
me.
feel that way, I just go somewhere and I really try to find it for myself because I know how it feels when someone does it to me and makes me like, do I know how it starts? But like the terror that brings to a wing is nuts. How's it start?
Yeah.
Shout out to
And
the people that do that on
the
purpose.
soundtrack's just
It's just
started.
Bruh, I hate this so much. The anxiety. I just run up into a corner. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me, bro. Go away. Like you have
I'll
That's
ask
stressful.
her, man.
yeah.
in my squad, they will have Anthony or O'Neill just randomly
Just do
go,
it. That is
yeah.
something that they would do. I would.
Dick. Yeah, that's an
I've
O'Neill
never
thing,
been
man.
in a fight, but I would scrap. I would scrap for that. I would scrap.
I have to say, the beginning of Vice, where I'm standing there, like the first position is like me holding an e-cigarette, like staring kind of sideways onto the audience for a good minute and a half in like while Quayle does something. So I'm standing there like this, and all that's going through my mind, the entire, like every show I've ever done with Vice, for that entire minute and a half, 2 minutes, I'm like, is the beginning what I think it is? Because I think it's this. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong and I do this on stage in front of everyone? There's a lot of
Just
people
being
here.
on stage and having
Wow.
to stay engaged and not doing anything,
Yeah.
like just having to keep your. It is actually, I think, really hard
Yeah.
to not glaze over, but just to like drop out a little
Yeah.
bit. Because I've done that. I feel like it's Vice for me as well, but I mean, I am only maybe it was Red, but there's a definite show I've been in, and it's minutes
Of
that I'm
standing
just
still.
there.
Yeah.
I might even be in darkness, but just that I'm there and just like, I can't ask anyone how it starts now.
It's too late.
Just whispering on stage.
Even if I wanted to.
Just wait for somebody to move and then you pick it up.
Yeah.
Like, it's really strange to me. Like, being at the front of an ensemble is worse for me than being solo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because there's something to, if you're doing a solo and you do it wrong, who knows?
Yeah, true.
If you're at the front and you do it wrong, everyone
Everybody knows.
I don't. There's something about that
see.
that
Unless
I
you're in the
don't
middle.
enjoy.
Middle, you can look at the people in front
Middle
of
can
you.
be like, yeah.
And duets, you can, if it's a duet, it's like, oh, this is a solo part.
Yeah.
You just commit to doing it wrong, and then it looks like you're both doing different things.
And then you
But-
start looking right, they look wrong because you've kind of made the choice that something else is going to happen,
Exactly.
but they've got no idea. So it's just like, yeah, she fucked it.
Yeah, when it gets to trios and above, it's like you have to do what the other people
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. It's that choir thing, innit?
I have a question.
Hit it.
It wasn't supposed to be a song, but that's where it ended up. I wonder, in the anime side of things, and I guess with the circles and stuff, or just anything that you think or have as influences in your life or daily practices and such, like what are those things that you believe influence your dance and your identity as a mover? Because there's anime for you, Glenn.
Yeah, 100%. Anime carries this. It has a foundation where it's where the lesson is keep going. Yeah, the lesson in anime is whenever anything's happening is to keep going. Like your belief is your strongest asset. Like if you believe it, then it is. Obviously, that can also trick you as well. You need to understand it to a certain extent because certain things are not physically possible. But yeah, just the lessons in anime, not necessarily the animation itself, but the lessons, the determination, the drive, the the fact that you believe and you want it that hard. Obviously in the anime it just happens, but in real life when I convey that to reality, it's if you want it that bad, if you're determined, if you have that drive, it won't just come, but your brain is gonna take you to the place where you need to be in order to keep going that next step. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I get from anime.
Is there any of that translate to your actual like movement and creation, as opposed to, because that sounds like it influences your mentality a lot and your belief in yourself and that type of thing, but is there any parts from anime where it literally is like translates into what you're creating or how you create, or like what would your influences be for actual material's sake?
I guess when I'm creating, it's the feeling, I guess, what I translate into my movement. I think it's the feeling, because when I'm watching the animation, the feeling, like it gives you goosebumps, your hairs can stand up. So I try to find that same feeling when I'm creating, and unless I find that, I'm not satisfied with. Is
it more you feeling it, or this is the feeling you want to give to the audience, or both?
First, it's both, but first I need to feel it, and then I understand, cool, how are they gonna convey it? I wasn't doing that at first, not fully when I was younger. It was more so me and my challenge. My art was more so for me, and I would then learn from the audience whether they got it or not. But now it is a decision where I'm like, cool, this is how I feel from it, but are they gonna get that from the move I've just done? Also, are they gonna get that from the combination beforehand as well? So and how it's set up. So yeah, I do think about that for the audience as well. Now, so yeah,
I hear you. Yeah, I think I'm similar to how you said about with anime, but with like music and rap. Like that's such a parallel to me, and it's the same process of like what I'm portraying in my dance at a lot of times is like I want to give you the feeling, or I want to feel the feeling of like rappers that I listen to, or this type of thing. Like I think for me, like one example is like the ease of movement and like how I can do something intricate or that looks cool or that looks hard, but like I do this every day, no problem. And whether or not I achieve that is not my decision to make, but like that's my intention. And like for me, if I watch like someone who's like effortlessly like lyrical or something and like breaking down stuff and like all these influences that I listen to, I'm like, how I feel like, let's say like early Eminem, not so much now, but that's another topic. But like when I first listened to Eminem, like way back, I was like, the way that he just like flows like through like on Renegade with Jay-Z, or like those sort of like, oh my God, this is like almost flow state of words, just like, and it sits on the beat so fucking beautifully that like, I want you to feel that when I dance, you know, like I don't want you to feel like, and I felt like this with some dancers, like at any moment he might trip or he doesn't quite know what he's doing, but he's going very intricate. I wonder if he's going to fuck up. No, I want you to feel like almost safe as an audience member, that like I'm going to take you on this crazy journey. I feel like this about your choreo actually. Like I'm going to take you on this crazy journey, but don't stress, we fucking got this. Like watching Dancers Delight was that. Like I never for 1 minute, and this also speaks to the dancers that you chose, but like I never for 1 minute watching that set felt as if someone was going to fuck up. And I felt like that watching other pieces. It just feels like, I can sit back and like be in my Hawaiian shirt with a cocktail and just like let you kill this. Like,
it's really cool that the performance makes you feel comfortable, because
it's not
that performance. Let me tell you, man. You have Romeo telling me that she was like, we haven't stressed about a performance in years. Like to the point where we were stressed about this one.
Yeah.
This one.
There was just no let up in that
There
set.
wasn't.
It's wild.
I don't know what I was on. Like, I was in my hotel room in Manchester at up 2 a.m. rehearsing that. We've never done that before. In like since like we used to do it before that time. You know what I mean? Jasmine was telling me like she was stressing her eyeballs out. Roby was telling me she was stressing. Everyone was just stressing hard. And we've never stressed like that before. So the fact that you guys felt comfortable is crazy because every time I watch that set, I feel like shit, someone's
On edge.
But what's sick is I think the dancer in me knew that. Like the dancer in me knows there's like I know the level of these dancers.
Yeah.
And I know that they've got this, but like the dancer in me knew like this is not a walk in the park for them. Like they're trying, but the audience member in me was like, I didn't feel like they're gonna fuck up. I just felt like this probably was hard to learn.
Yeah.
But now that they're on stage, I didn't feel like that. And I've definitely felt like that about some performances that I watch and I'm like, ugh. I feel like I'm on edge. Like, are you going to make it through this? Or some dancers that do some like floor work or crazy like athleticism stuff. Like, if I think of like, say like Alex, the Cage, or even Paradox for an example, like when they move and do these big floor work moves, I don't ever feel like they're going to fall over and hit their face or something.
No.
And some
I get
dancers,
that.
I'm like, whoa, calm down. Like, oh, and it puts me on edge. So I think that's what going back to the original thing was like, that's what I take from music is like, a lot of rappers have that. And again, there's rappers that don't, and you're like, oh, you're going off on and off beat and I don't like this. But yeah, the ease of delivery is what I like take as, and that's why when I'm moving, I'm like, oh, I want to be intricate like this, or I want to like make you connect with certain bits the way Drake makes you connect with certain lines and you want to caption your Instagram with his bars. It's like, I want you to feel like, oh, that's a recognizable thing. So I take a lot of those influences and try to translate that in the dance, maybe in a similar way.
I feel like as an artist, that's definitely a choice to help elevate what it is that you are creating or what it is that you're trying to show. What everyone listens to when they're hearing the music is the reason why they buy it or the reason why they like that bar. It's not even just the bar itself, it's how you felt when you noticed that bar. Do you know what I mean? When you understood it entirely. So when it comes to creating choreography and trying to emulate that exact same wow factor or that surprise, it's very much a good choice to try to aim for that because you know what that does for you verbally. So to achieve that physically is definitely a one-up.
And I don't know again if it's like maybe because I've veered away from more of the like choreo scene, but like that's how I like the way I feel about, let's say, a certain Drake song that I heard at a certain point and it makes me feel a certain way every time I listen to it because I know where I first listened to it. That's how I felt about like Nike boots or like some of these like Junkomado's routines from like my era of watching YouTube. And it's like, it's not just like, oh, there's a cool combo. It's like, I remember who sent me that link when they did, how it made me feel, like how I used to like
Nike
fucking
boots is it.
Yeah.
It just remains.
But do you guys still feel like that about, like, let's say Choreo or Paris? Is there like certain things that either maybe, I guess for you, maybe it would be more like theatre stuff or maybe even battles, but like stuff that
have influenced my craft,
or that you retain as like, oh my God, the way that made me feel, I want to like emulate that, make other people feel like that. And that's something that you always come back to and like, oh yeah, I remember the way that piece made me feel. Like I need to do that in my craft. Not so much the actual material. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I remember a piece by, I can't say the name, Wang
Ramirez.
Yeah.
Which one?
I can't remember when they performed. It's that breaking convention. It was the two of them on stage.
When he jumps and does the leg things.
Yeah, that piece was like the it piece for me. After that, I was so inspired to just go and create whatever. I think it was like the textures, the movement itself, the intricacy in the movement, how they combined like martial arts and hip hop and contemporary styles, because I'm really big into martial arts. So I practice Tai Chi.
Sick.
So like, yeah, that's another influence of my craft. But yeah, I would say that piece specifically, and then just a bunch of other like creative things, like music. Really big into music. I love watching the creative process, like how producers create a track and how they layer things. Because then also within my art, I love this idea of layering and polyrhythms and, you know, like combining different rhythms and dimensions into things. But then with other things like religion even.
Oh wow.
Like I love reading a lot about Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, so many other things and different philosophies as well, like Ikigai. I don't know if you know Ikigai.
Is that the circle thing?
Yeah. All these things, me reading into all these philosophies, minimalism. Yeah.
That's Tali, man.
Long live the 30%.
Yeah. It's so important. I think all these things, whether I read it or experience it personally at first hand, primary, like that all feeds into how I approach who I am as a person and then who I am as an artist.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, traveling, being with people. Like I remember doing my dissertation and being in the mountains in Fukuoka after Summer Dance Forever. And I was just there like with this monk and he was speaking at me. I didn't even understand what he was saying, but I loved the way he held himself and how he delivered himself to me and how he presented tea to me, like little mannerisms that people have and the way they do things. Like I love watching people, like even you sitting there and just like that's how I create. It's so inspiring to me.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Roby has said to me, and it is really obvious, but I just hadn't deeped it before she said it, that we are as dancers who we are as people.
Yes.
Like you can just see how a person, like you can not know them, but just see how they move and get,
and even how they think
of it.
Yeah.
And I think I can look back at how I moved and see that, but now it's a conscious decision for me to the way, and I guess this feeds into the perception versus my choice, is that I won't get to meet everyone that follows my dance, but I want them to know who I am through my dance. And my main goal in any space is to be the most relaxed person there, or to be the person most at ease in a space. And I think to know that you can look at me dance, and whether you think I'm marking it or whatever is really none of my business. It's definitely yours.
Or yours.
But I think that is reflected. And in that, it's just an extension of the idea. But do you think that it's too strong a statement to say that people that don't have a sense of identity within their dance are missing a sense of identity? Yeah.
100%. No, I don't think that's too strong. I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
I was actually going to say, like that was what I was thinking when you were talking. It's like the people that you can see it when they don't know who they are as people, let alone as movers. Like,
yes.
And I think, like that and the opposite, where it's like, this is why kind of what Paris was saying was making me think as well, like that, because for a lot of artists, who we are as movers or as artists is based on our collective experiences over our whole life. And it's such a deep thing that we've kind of created, and it's so unique. Even if it looks similar in ways, it's like built on our thing. I think this is why it's such a piss take, for want of a better word, when people like copy their dance style off someone else.
Right.
How do they do that?
Yeah, and I think it's like it's more of an insult. Maybe it's a compliment to the person because you're so inspired and whatever. But for me, it's just as someone who is trying to be authentic, as I think we all are, like it's almost a piss take. It's like, no, you can't cheat. Figure out who you are. You can't just be like, oh, I'm Paris. Like, and then it's like, you're dancing like Paris. It's like, but you've never been handed tea by a monk. Like, what are you doing?
You're missing that part. That's the bit that's missing. So go to the mountains. And I think that's word to like not dancing.
What?
Aiding your dancing.
Yeah, not dancing is aiding your dancing 100%.
Because if you're just constantly training, going at it, and you know, when it's said like, you know, life is influential to your dance also, but to take it out of the external so much, but you do have to spend time with yourself, and that doesn't have to be in stillness or meditating or any of that stuff, but you do have to be a human in the world to get to know yourself. And that is quite hard to say to a young dancer because their brain capacity maybe isn't there for the self growth and the looking inward. But I almost feel like saying, don't worry about your identity right now. Like, or like do the concepts and the tools and the methods, yes, but don't worry about finding your thing right now, because it's a long game.
So a never-ending game in a way.
Just touch up on anything, and you know what I mean, whatever, but just at some point, just take into consideration who you are, I guess. So, but when you're younger, you can't worry about it because you're not ready, you're not there.
I think also if we think about dance as like expressing something in the same way that speaking is expressing something, it's like being at a table and just continuously talking, and it's like, yo, you haven't learned anything, so what are you talking about? It's like, let's talk about food. And it's like...
I will say as a disclaimer that I do know some young dancers who do have a really good sense of, like, they've got an identity as a mover, but then I would also say that the ones that I know personally are incredibly self-aware for their age. So I do still think that it's
But I think
tied in.
It's not about necessarily like young and old, it's about balancing, like you have to have something to say with your dance, whether that's like in a very literal way or a very abstract way. But I think to get something to say, you have to do things that aren't saying, you know what I mean? Like you can't, to have an input in a conversation, you have to have had previous experiences to then come to the conversation and go, based on all that shit, here's my opinion, which is what we're doing now. But like, same as a dancer, like to come to a dance stage or a battle floor or whatever and say, this is my expression, like what are you expressing? If you haven't done something, whether or not it's like hard times, whether it's good times, whether it's relationships, whether it's anime, whatever you choose to draw from, you have to have something beyond the medium of expression that you're inputting, I guess.
And I guess, you know, the same way that people don't like to say, I don't know, just in conversation, no one wants to admit or not be actively pursuing their thing, their style. And, you know, in the choreography context, it's so valid to just walk into a class and like, I'm going to learn these steps and deliver them back to the choreographer, teacher cleanly as they've been taught, and not look around and see people adding their own stuff and just adding any old to it just to say that you're
I wonder
doing
if
it.
that's why I don't connect fully with that scene, because I'm not...
Pull the mic a bit.
Oh, sorry. I wonder if that's why I don't really connect so much to doing that, because it's just so learn and deliver. There's no me really in it, and that's probably why like I personally navigate more towards like theatre as opposed to even underground or...
I think it's a necessary skill.
100%.
And I do think that it is one that, in my opinion, and it's a segue, but I do think as someone that works as a choreographer and as an agent, I would advise any freestylers that do want to work commercially to get into class every now and again, just to exercise that muscle, because it might not be the most enjoyable experience, but it's undoubtedly going to be more enjoyable than waiting until you're at Wembley.
100%. I agree with this.
Like classes, it's a lesson. It's a lecture. You know, you go in when you want, you leave when you want. You know what I mean? You do what you want with the time you have, but it is literally, it's down to you. So, I mean, if you want to come into the class and just kind of stand there and kind of just analyze what he's doing, if you wanted to come in and just with a pad and pen and paper, you could also do that, you know, and leave. But it's just how you process it, because you are the only person doing for you in that class, you know.
You know what's mad about what you're saying is, like, I've been thinking about this recently in terms of like Zoom classes, because now that there's more, I didn't really want to take any, or I don't really like doing them, but the more I've seen them pop up, I'm like, oh, like this gives me an option that I've never felt I had before in choreo classes, which is to take the class, pay for it, but just turn my screen off and just sit and watch
it. Don't dance.
And don't dance and just take it in, because I know the way I learn is like it's almost two conflicting things for me, and maybe this is my flaw, but like I can't process while I'm doing. Like I want to look at it, understand it, and then do it, or like, it's something I want to separate it. So in a class, I've always like, okay, I'll just follow along and do the choreo. When you say, all right, you guys try it, I'll do that. But really what I'd love to be doing is just sitting and going, let me replay that bit. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll do that with some Zoom classes, just especially for styles based, like with pop-in and stuff like that. I'm like, I just want to hear about it and watch it. And I'm like, oh, that's what that is. And then later I'll get up and do it.
Yeah, you need time to process and digest it.
Which I think is a really good thing. Like, I've never seen anyone do that in a choreo class.
I did it with, I actually did it with Tally's when Jasmine was taking your class.
Sick.
Recently.
Orion's Belt.
Yeah.
I was
sick. Watching it because
you got to listen to me chatting rubbish.
all of it. You was doing it reversed, right?
Yeah.
Wild.
I was watching it. I did it as well with Brooke. I think these are the only classes that I took. Brooke had I think he had a couple like training sessions as well. Me and Jasmine were taking some of it, but then the other half I was just watching.
I was doing it the way that it's done, but I was saying right instead because I took a class and I chose to mirror the teacher because that's just going to be the nicest experience for me. But some people weren't, and he was having to turn around every now and again. And so I was like, you mirror me, but I know it well enough after teaching it 20,000
Which is a sick technique. I love the fact that you did that.
But I love tutorials for the same reason. Like, it literally has taken me weeks to get through a combo. Because I'll just do a section for a week, not like at 8 p.m, like get on your clothes and like train that section, but just naturally in the days following, I'll just be repeating, making it feel good and then going back. But then what I think it was with Robia again that I arrived at this, there's been no reason to drill or practice anything.
Exactly.
Like for the better part of 15 years, I've had a set or a routine or something to get performance ready. And I'm not interested in getting these combos performance ready, but I've been used to taking things home and there's just no reason to do that right now apart from training. But that is something that I didn't think about. It just started happening and I was enjoying it and I was like, oh, that's why, because literally for a year and a half you have not had anything to practice.
The outlet is what's missing from what it is that we're doing, which is what's stopping our process. Is like, we did these things because there was an end goal somewhere, in the day, in the week. There was just something, there was just somewhere to put our information, what we've been holding, what we've been rehearsing, and now there isn't. So
because you said you stopped dancing. I did immediately, and I realized immediately. Did you?
I actually didn't.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, just in terms of like training and stuff, but then like I've just been hustling.
I was not dancing at all.
I stopped.
And I realized that
we're talking lockdown.
That I wasn't expected to.
Exactly.
So I didn't. And I used to go to classes really regularly, and no one was forcing me to go, but there was something in my subconscious that was like a sense of maintenance that I hadn't accounted for because I was just in the habit of going. But I just like, no one needs me to do this. Calm. I'm gonna like arrange flowers and like add like one more dish to the two mediocre ones that I can cook right now and do nothing.
Just doing things because
but
just
also
had
maybe
the
you
time.
needed that.
Absolutely.
And this goes back to the
Absolutely.
not dancing influencing your dancing.
Because I like a student of mine messaged me today following what I posted recently and was just like, I just wanted to message you and I can see that your facial you're using your face when you dance at the moment. And when I watch my rounds back, I'm smiling the majority. I'm having the best time when I dance these days. I don't know what's going to happen when I have to like go back to red and
your
like breathe.
Your recent video, you're definitely smiling.
I'm smiling in all of my videos.
I saw that on my way here.
And there was such a like level of, I wasn't enjoying it, but there was just something in the training mode that didn't rise, I guess, past that. But not dancing for that period, or just dancing just when I want and not when I think I want but actually need, but when I actually want to, is just been super beneficial. That's changing soon and I'm going to need to dance. But I'm ready for that as a result of the period.
I like that it's happening because it's happening as a result. Like you really had to just stop to really then say to yourself, cool, not even is this what I want to do, but your body is speaking to
it's like your body speaking to its energy. Like, do I really want this right now? And if you start to just walk towards that, then obviously you've done yourself justice. I feel like the lockdown has given us a pause or revitalization for dancers that we could have never given ourselves, really, because when I see people stop dancing, I always say, how? Because I can't stop dancing. When shit was happening, there was no way I was not thinking about dancing, choreography, music, like just everything, music videos, just things, work. There was no way I was stopping anytime soon, and now we stopped. So I made sure to take full advantage of that, because I knew that my job wasn't done, but I also have a chance to stop. I'm possibly not going to stop again. And that it revitalized me to the point where now I only want to, I want to push more solo work. And as I posted in my last one, I don't really post solo work.
Same.
I don't know why. I love doing stuff for my team. I just love doing stuff for my team. Like what we can do, what I've seen with them as well, what I know from what we can do, it's just amazing. And I love doing that. I'm also a person who likes to do things with other people, make sure that we all come up together. But I guess with the chill, it's been like a breath of fresh air. Yeah.
So hopefully that, like what we were speaking to, people needing to stop, being forced to stop, has hopefully aided not just self-growth for everyone as people, but as movers naturally as a result.
Yeah, I think like one thing that the lockdown, I don't know if I maybe, let's say, like realize it fully. Like I think I had an inkling that it was the case before, but I think I see dance as akin to like conversation or speaking. So in the same way that I don't talk to myself in the house, I don't dance unless it's for like communication purposes, if that makes sense. So like, and I've made peace with that, because I heard a lot of stuff that made me think, oh, maybe I'm doing this wrong and my focus is in the wrong place, and this is like me trying to impress people as opposed to caring.
By communication, do you mean filming, or if you're exchanging with Jen?
I just want it to be received by someone to do it. Like if my dance is...
You want it to be seen.
Yeah, like I think if I was locked in a room for the rest of my life by myself and you're never going to get out or whatever in a vacuum, I'd stop dancing, because there's no need to. My dance is to make you feel something. And like, it's not to say that it's devoid of anything from me, but my pleasure comes in you feeling good about what you've seen, or us having an exchange, or us battling and hating each other for those 1-2 minutes in a battle, or like that feeling of connection with other people from whatever positions that we're in, audience and choreographer or battler or whatever, or training. That exchange is what makes me feel alive and want to dance. So when that's not there, it's kind of like, why would you speak? Or what, like I can go, like if I'm 2 days in the house, I probably haven't said more than 2 words, but like shit if I hit my toe or something. But I'm not speaking for no reason, because I'm like, well, I speak to communicate with people and to exchange ideas and to learn and etc. So I see my dance in a similar way.
I'm interested in how you would have cultivated that, because when you started, that wouldn't have been there. Because unless you, I don't know, was your period of initial training really short and then you just wanted to get out and perform, or like have you cultivated, like you wouldn't have always been seen when you started?
But I was at classes.
Right. Okay.
So it was like, even if I wasn't necessarily seen, but like the reason I was dancing was an exchange, in the sense that the teacher was giving me something to...
I see.
So it's always like I wouldn't... like I'm in a class and we're all, I guess, exchanging energy, for want of a better phrase, but like the teacher's giving me steps, I'm taking something in from them, I'm giving something back to the room in a way by being in it and by moving in it. And
Question for everyone. Do you mean you stopped dancing in terms of like training, or you stopped dancing as in like just moving the body? Do you,
all of it for a while?
All of it?
I just sat on the sofa playing PlayStation.
My body would move when it heard music, but it would move like a normal person.
I picked up a daily yoga practice in the absence of it, but that would just be like 30 minutes in the morning. But yeah, it wasn't that I just wasn't training. I just thought I don't really know what the time frame was now, but yeah, none.
Yeah, and on that as well, I think for me, and it links into what I was just saying, is like, before I started dancing, I never danced. Like I would never, I've been to like clubs when I was like well, under 18 when we went to the under 18s, like, or like house parties. Or so. I've never been the guy to like stand up and dance with a drink in my hand. It's not something that's like, even culturally, like my mum's side is Indian, but we never really, I didn't grow up Indian, if you know what I mean. But the white in me, like the commercial, the cultural aspect of dance wasn't really there. So I didn't grow up dancing. I never went to parties to dance. It was always something I was just like, I'm happy to just sit and listen to music with a beer. So dance is always ingrained as like, I'm getting up with the purpose to dance. Like if I hear music, my first response is like, let me see, oh, this is dope. I'm going to sit down and listen. Not like, let me get up and they're just not in me like naturally. So in that way, it was easy to fall off when the lockdown happened. It was just like, who am I doing this for?
I think I turned mine into I turned, even though I didn't dance, I think I kept everything up here because listening to music, my brain would still go through a whole entire process. I would still see things the same way I would see them. I just wouldn't do nothing about it.
So it still was happening in here.
Yeah.
I was doing everything.
Paris is like, you damn slackers.
Paris give me anxiety.
That's why I kick your ass.
Everything.
I was doing the most. Like,
Paris are trying to battle us today.
I was just like, what? I think, so like, okay, first of all, I was just, just regular normal people dancing as well. But I grew up with that.
Right.
So
Muggle moves.
Yeah, wow.
I'm joking.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that comes from the fact that, my dad was a musician. There was always music around the house. Family, like Caribbean and Indian, like those cultures are very like celebratory in general. So like I just never stopped moving anyway. But then I think maybe when it comes to the training aspect, I think it is that like you need to keep like wanting to be the best mindset, because at the time of lockdown there were these online battles, online showcases, and I did have to do some, and so I think well, not have to.
Okay.
I chose to do some.
You were pressured into it.
I mean,
by your tense friends.
who knows?
You set yourself up for that one.
Who knows?
Dixon, I think she's talking about you.
Don't look in the camera like we're doing this. You said it.
So anyways, like I think it was that pressure of like I need to stay on top of my shit, otherwise, well, by the time you come out of lockdown and I do another battle, it's like
right.
That's understandable.
100%.
I think again it's a generational thing of similar with social media in general. Like if it fell away today, there'd be a fair amount of stuff that had been deleted, but there's still like a decade of stuff that would still be there. And similarly with me stopping dancing, I don't feel the need to maintain, like I'd need to maintain for Red. Like it's a very specific thing that I'd need to be back in shape for. And in the absence of that, that's what I want.
I have a question for you guys.
Red is sick, by the way.
Red is.
You know what
I
I seen a whole of that piece. You know what man.
My question is, have you guys ever felt the pressure to define yourself or your identity based on level or who you thought was better or worse than you, whether it be in a class for that contained moment, whether it be in battles, or the kind of, which I think we can maybe all agree that exists, is this like hierarchy that starts to happen naturally of like, oh, this person's really dope choreographer, this person's really dope dancer, battler. So have you ever been like, oh, but I wish like I would feel more self-worth if I was better than that person or worse?
I'll speak on the opposite end of the spectrum, and I'm sure Glenn can co-sign this to a degree. That I was saying this to someone the other day. I will step into classes now, some knowing regardless of how I do it, I'm going to be asked to do it.
Okay.
That was me co-signing everything she said.
Which is nice. That's very nice. It's a compliment. I receive it. But I don't want to go to class. there's a bit of resistance in that. Sometimes the opposite, it's like sick. I haven't got any footage of myself dancing full time. This is gonna be sick, but also get it because you're gonna be captured on film. But then it does remove. It's kind of back to what I say to younger dancers. Like, I understand how you don't want to go to things that you might not be very good at because you're going to be seen doing it, and that relates to me at 15 years down the line. It's like, I want to be called out doing a solo in this class. I was like, you clearly haven't watched me. I don't have it. Or tell the room why.
But how does that, like, does that
That's
relate to your identity or your self-worth? Or do you feel it like almost kind of seeping into you? You're, like, does it make you feel better or worse? Or
It is a compliment, and it's definitely an ego boost to be held in high regard like that. But I don't like what it says about the structure of the choreography scene, that regardless of how she's done it, watch her. Say, and it's not to gas me up, but tell your students like why you're asking them to watch this person that doesn't have it, you know, because she doesn't care that she doesn't have it, or, you know, that's not true. But like, speak on it a little bit. Don't just drag me out because like an OG's here, or because you want footage of an OG.
Right.
yeah.
Like, hello,
Personal
hi,
gain.
like I paid to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not shade at all, because I do receive at the root of it that there is
A genuine love, like a
Yeah.
genuine...
It's
there's an appreciation
It's consideration,
being
because if
shared.
you're not communicating with your class, you're gonna make them feel some type of way about that. Some people,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. You don't understand why that person's gone up. If you haven't told them, then I can only take what I see.
Yeah, and I appreciated this about Orion's Belt when me and Lee came. First time you taught it, or
First time here, I
Right.
taught it once.
Yeah.
and like you picked out me, Lee, Ice, and Josh, and I even in those three, I was like, why am I here? But then in terms of like the people that were in that room, I was like, why am I? And I felt a bit like nervous to get up because I was like, what the fuck is she picking me? Like, everyone's gonna think I'm a dickhead because I'm not gonna smash this.
I did set it up, didn't I?
But this is what I'm saying. This is what I appreciate, because I felt that pressure on me almost of like, oh, there's bare sick choreo dancers here. I better kill this to warrant me being called up.
I see.
Or like, it's like, oh, this is Tali's friend. Or I was like, what am I doing up? Why am I on my feet right now? And then Tali,
Like the spirit just like dragged you up to
help.
your feet.
but like you set it up in a way of like, oh, the way that they do it is very different to each other and blah, blah, blah. And it's the difference in approach that we want to highlight with this. And I was like, oh yeah, I can
do
definitely
that.
stand behind the fact that I'm going to do this differently to other people. So if that's your highlight, I can be proud of being here, if that makes sense. So I think in that case, I would have not enjoyed that same experience, which I now look back on fondly, because you just set it up and said, this is why I chose them.
But it's similar to an audition, I think, when you can like beat yourself up about not getting it without having any knowledge as to why you didn't.
Yeah.
Like, you could have been the best, but you weren't blonde, or
Yeah.
you know, you have
Simple.
no idea.
Right.
Simple.
And I think it's the same in class setups. And I've been there, like back in the day, when you're just like, I smashed that.
Yeah.
Where's my select,
Where the
man?
hell, fam? Where's my
Like, why
solo, bro?
are you doing me dirty?
And I think this is,
But then it's like, it could have just been all their mates.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
there's 70 people in here. They, like, as a teacher, it's, you know, when someone asks you for feedback and like, it might be exposing myself as not the best teacher, but I'm like, next time you want that to happen, please tell me at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I'm taking in the room, but I'm not necessarily like consciously zeroing in on
100%.
everyone, because
Yeah.
there's 50 people
Yeah.
here. And I don't want to just be like making up some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
And-
happens. Comps.
I think this is where like the
Comps. Can you get some feedback? Don't act like you
Listen, you're number
watched them all,
112.
because you didn't watch them
Lies.
all. And then you're like, yeah, just, you know, like lies.
yeah.
I didn't see you. I'm sorry. Can you go again?
Yes,
this is-
right.
Show me now. I know you rehearsed. Drop it.
Then I get a message from their mom like vex at me.
But this happens in the battle scene as well.
Oh, yeah,
like,
absolutely.
oh, can you give me feedback? It's like, I
Like-
don't remember your
Yeah.
limb.
I've actually said that to
Yeah.
people as well, and just, I'm sorry.
Oh,
but
yeah,
there's
I've
so
had
many
that.
people.
It's
Yeah.
important.
Show me a video. Like, I've had
Yeah.
people do that, and I really
Yeah.
like, oh, can you like show me, tell me, and I look, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this
It's
is.
You will never know how your words land in people.
Yeah.
And now that I don't retain material, And I think I stopped retaining material also because it's like, there's no lesson to be gained by holding that person's combo in my body. Yeah. But I will hold that thing that they said. And you just don't, I would hate to tell someone a lie or just something that I'd made up and then just like carry it about for better or for worse if it wasn't actually for them. I'd sooner tell you, like, my bad, I was not watching.
But I think this
fell
is...
asleep. Do you remember when I fell asleep at that comp?
What?
Oh yeah, was that me, you, and Bruno?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yes.
I nodded off for like a micro nap, yeah.
Yo.
And Sam Fleet was in the audience and he's like, you nodded off, bruv.
Oh my god.
It was, but on this occasion, which never happens, we were on the stage and the dancers were on the floor.
Literally.
So I'm like, that's
it's
like
too much.
So we're just up, like, but it's long. I'm gonna sleep at some point, unless you guys are giving me something proper. That's why they always give you snacks, because they're not trying to warm you up. If you warm me up, I'm gonna sleep. I'm gonna sleep.
Warm me up with artificial carbs.
Yeah,
sausage
true.
rolls and chips will
They
not
need to stop.
suffice.
They need to stop this.
And also schedule your day better than. Do you know what I mean?
We're
Like,
segueing here.
Yeah.
we are.
I think what I was
We've
going to
saved all our
segues as
shade
well,
for the
bro.
comp scene at the end.
what I was going to say is I think that links
Hey, book me though.
back to the original thing of like your self-worth being linked to you being better or worse, because it's like you were saying, if you don't get any feedback of why you didn't get picked or why you didn't get put through prelims or whatever it is, you immediately think, oh, it's because I wasn't good enough, or I didn't get the audition because I wasn't good enough. And then it's like, it's hard not to be like, oh, well, I'm just not as good as that person because they booked 3 auditions that we were both in and I didn't. Where it's like, well, they're blonde and there's just more of it, you know, whatever it is. Like,
And I think the identity thing, because in my head, I'm thinking with battles, there's clearly an end goal, or hopefully you're entering to win. But in class, the end 10-15 is like the pinnacle of the class now.
Yeah.
Generally, it's seen that way. And I think not so much identity, but just what we were speaking about earlier with just thinking about what you're doing while you're doing it. If it's like a conscious, like if I enjoyed that hour and 15 because of my approach to it, or just like really fully engaging in what's happening, those last 15 minutes, like whatever. But if I'm just like blacking out and just get, you know, like eye on the prize of that moment, or like, are they looking at me and all that jazz? Again, you're setting yourself up for if it doesn't go your way and you don't get that moment, and you've also not been present for the class.
yeah.
Yeah.
I hear that. I'm gonna check the time, but I think we're probably on the way to.
I
wrapping
lose
up.
all sense of time doing
no.
this.
Give us
And
a
I've
guess.
done
How long do you
two.
think this has been?
Oh,
I don't know.
How long does it feel like? And I'll tell you exactly how long it's been.
It feels like
Hour and a half?
Hour and a half. Hour and a half.
hour 15.
Hour and 15.
2:15.
2:08.
Oh!
So Tally's pretty. I lose all track of time, but let me guess it perfectly.
I was actually gonna say, I was thinking,
camera's dead.
ago. Tally, your nails are really nice.
Okay, first, second, third.
There's no point in doing it because it can't be seen.
Yeah, cameras are.
Not.
We're in the segment where there's only audio.
Wow.
Because
snap.
we're working with a limited budget, guys. If I get funding in the future,
Do you know when it died?
no, probably about 15 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago.
How
No,
much,
it's
how much
only
fun
at the
did
end.
you need?
How much you got? I'm looking. I'm looking
I know
at.
people that
You
know
gonna pay
people.
me?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, we're looking at. I mean, I'm working with Taya, and we're trying to get some funding, trying to look into different options about like what we can do with this. That's not just running ourselves into the ground, spending money out of our own pockets.
Yeah.
to
You'll
do
get
this.
funding for
I
sure.
think this is
Hope so.
amazing.
Oh, thank
One
you,
thing
bro.
we do need is an information port that feeds to dancers, man. Because
Yeah.
I think one thing. Well, I entered the scene in 2005, but from what I've gathered, there's so much information that we can easily filter to ourselves that we do through Instagram, but.
Like
we
a
just-
centralized.
Yeah,
something.
you know, like we all figuring out, oh, we all used to do this, we all used to do that, we all did this at this age.
Yeah.
If we had this like continuously for a long time, you could
okay.
reach dancers and have them gain the right knowledge at the right time.
I'm
I mean,
trying.
for some people, so
You're
Yeah.
doing, bro.
Oh,
yeah, I think
Some
it's-
kind of
it's amazing.
archival
Well, this is the thing. So
situation. Yeah.
to explain, Taya. Hi, Taya. Taya goes to UEL and she's kind of working as an intern for me/UEL on this. And me and UEL are kind of working on a partnership of how we can work together to bring this. Because I think obviously at UEL they have the, how do you call your program? Urban practice course,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So Yeah, so
yes, they do.
the urban practice course, like the senior lecturers there, I'm partnering with them to try and look into what we can do with this for this reason. Like they've kind of identified like it could be used as like to create archives and to there's something in there, but we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the answer. Like, well, I don't know exactly.
UEL, make sure you fund.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
And it's also like looking at like Arts Council, different options. So yeah, anyone out there that happens to be listening that wants to let me know any advice, any funding opportunities, anything like that, please send them my way. But yeah, the idea being that we can grow this into something that's not just me paying to fuck around with my friends and like actually something that's serving the scene a bit and doing something positive, you know. So let's like, you know, I'll definitely announce it. You'll definitely hear about it
Joe
on
Rogan.
social media. Dance Joe Rogan. Yes. I love how he's always bringing everything back to fighting. Like, it's like, so you've got a new album out. Have you tried martial arts before? So that's Joe Rogan.
It's so true.
Or it's like, oh yeah, like there's this new thing happening in the news. Like, yeah, so you know, drugs. Like drugs are really cool, don't you think? But yeah, anyway, so that's what's happening with the Duke LDN podcast.
Our brains are gone.
Yeah, and there'll definitely be more anyway, but I'm definitely looking into expanding it and making it a bigger thing.
And there'll be 2 more from us.
There'll be 2 more from us. And what's the plans, if there's any that you're allowed to speak about yet, with the III intensive?
Oh, by the time this is dropped, hopefully it will be out that
Oh, scoop.
I have just received Arts Council funding in collaboration with Zoo Nation, the Kate Prince company.
Well
we got
done.
Let's go. To offer a 2-week paid development program. So we will have 5 artists with access to 15 dancers, and you will have 2 weeks with my guidance and visits from peeps on the Zoo Nation creative team to make things, and you will be paid to do that.
That's really cool.
Is this like the people are chosen, the 5 dancers?
So we've got a few people that will put 2 people forward each.
Cool.
And then I believe those 10 will apply.
Got you.
And then the 15 dancers will be I alum.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's a really cool full circle thing for me
That's
as
sick.
someone that came from Zoo. And if I can't speak on it when this drops in a few weeks, then oh well.
Guys,
Give me 3.
if you're listening and there's an abrupt cut and then you start at this point, Tali's just dropped something that she wasn't allowed to drop.
Basically. But I would hope that it's droppable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure if we'll have an edition this summer because of that. But that is a more than reasonable replacement, I think.
That's really cool.
And yeah, it's that and this really. So it's a really cool thing that you've collaborated with me on this, because Lord knows I love a chat.
Love the chat, man.
And just to give word and props and voices to those that we don't hear very often, and people that we dig creatively and otherwise is great.
Yeah. And on that note, super thanks for both of you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Super appreciate it, and it's been wonderful. Thank you, mate, for doing this with me. And everyone at home listening.
And you.
Everyone at home listening, check out Paris and Glenn and Tali and myself on Instagram, YouTube, etc., etc. The Duke LDN Podcast is Spotify and Apple Music and Google Music Podcast, whatever. All the podcast platforms except for SoundCloud, basically.
And Deezer.
Is it not on Deezer?
No.
Okay, well, it's not on Deezer.
But no one's on Deezer
And
except
apparently-
me, so that's not an issue.
And apparently that's a big deal. I thought that SoundCloud was the biggest gap, but it's Deezer that we're missing out on, guys. Never heard of it before in my life.
I did.
I heard these.
Oh God.
Have you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
I didn't found the company, but thank you all the same.
Imagine we cut back in like 10 years and I've got to deal with Deezer and they just find
Literally.
this clip. Like,
You
what?
know about us.
Yeah, you're sacked. Check out the Identity Ideas Industry Instagram, which is a mouthful and a half. and all the goodness that happens on that page. And yeah, we've got 2 more of these coming, so please tune in, which I think will be next week I think we're going to do it weekly, so whenever the next episode comes out, please tune in. And yeah, that's about it. Any other sign-offs, any shout-outs? Do like a grime track at the end, shout out people in the place.
Just thank you guys for bringing me out.
Thanks, mate.
It's very true, I don't speak a lot. I know that I am respected and stuff like that.
Good.
I know that people want to hear my voice. I've heard it from someone else say the exact same thing that you said.
And I think whenever you do speak, you say things that make us want to hear more. You know what I mean?
Only because I don't speak a lot. I like to let the action speak for itself.
Man.
Which is valid.
I like to open my mouth, but if anything, this has really kind of pushed me to probably open my mouth. So
Yeah, 100%.
super happy to hear that.
100%. Thank you so much for having me.
Mate, of course.
Kind of the same vibe. I don't really like to speak.
You say really great things.
Thank you. But obviously, I definitely want to do this because you guys are just amazing, and I'm saying that genuinely.
Yeah.
I have so much respect for all of you.
Ditto.
So yeah, this
Look
has
at
been
us.
great.
Look at us. And I think also, just on that note, this is something that's really means a lot to me, like having you guys here even more, is because you guys being in this room, like first of all, the collaboration with us means that you like are validating my opinions, or us having the chat, but then also you guys being there is like, you didn't look at the email and go, Luke, oh fuck that guy, you know, like, so it makes me feel like it's nice that you've given up your time to have a conversation with me and Tali, of course.
for what you've shown, Luke, though, people should only see something from you and think work ethic, because you know what I mean, you're always producing something, whether it be small, whether it be on your own back, on something, you're always producing something, bro. So
that is of value.
yeah, exactly. So you know what I mean, and obviously I respect Tali so highly. So obviously her on the job as well is like it's a no-brainer.
Oh,
like.
guys.
This is nice. And to be honest, I think we
drop a tear.
No, but I think this is important as well, is to like, going back to, for a very brief moment, the perception stuff. Like, I sometimes feel, and I'm sure there's people out there that feel like this, I sometimes feel that these things that I'm creating are just going into the void, and like everyone's just living their life, and I'm like, well, I posted that thing, it got 27 likes and everyone's moved on. But like, to hear that you have even an inkling of perception of like work ethic from me, I'm like, I wouldn't have even thought that Glenn like even saw my Instagram in the last 10 years.
Instagram, everyone sees everything.
Yeah,
no one doesn't see.
Yeah, they
People
might
don't
not
say,
let you might not know they've seen
What
it.
they
but
know.
they've seen it.
But I think it's important to take that time, like, to say these.
I feel like
I agree.
even the fact that this is called identity, like the fact that you guys have your own identity is the reason this is a no-brainer. Like, if you didn't have an identity, I don't think I would have been able to come on the show.
Right, 100%.
When it comes to that stuff, I can't lie very well, man.
Soulless scrotes. It's
You know what I mean? Are you emailing me, bro?
But also, I'm happy that we can cross paths and see the connection as well.
Yeah,
like,
I think it was important that we had a guest each.
Yeah, you push for
because
that
we do have people in common, but it was interesting. Not that it be like a debate, but just that there was room for different opinions, and like you say, for us to find commonality across the different fields.
Also, I can't wait for the argument to happen.
Which one?
Argument.
Just any.
Just any on the show, I'm here for it.
Sick.
That's the man.
Maybe coming.
We need to.
there will be one.
Yeah, we need to. I want to set up some debate ones. Like, if anyone out there has a problem with someone else and wants to debate on the podcast, I will.
Let the beef play out.
I will mediate.
Duke London.
I'm down. I'm legit down. Yeah. I'm legit down for that, though. I would love to have like Kane did it with Frankie and someone else, the guy from Pineapple, Winston or something. Remember that whole thing?
That happened.
Basically check out Kane's podcast, The Ins and Outs.
Did he?
He's dope. But basically there was an issue. I don't want to talk on it too much when you can go and listen to Kane's podcast because he's dope. But basically there was an issue that was happening. And I think they got Frankie and this guy to have the conversation on the podcast, and Kane mediated, which is brilliant. And I think
do you remember the bloke?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think that is sick, and I think that's really vital to solve like all this
It is.
subbing people on indirects and
This cowardice crap
Trust
Instagram
me.
keeps.
like, and also you might not want to, if you've like someone's.
You might be cutting all of this, right? And we're just
yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
But like if you're someone let's say, disrespected you publicly, and you might want to shoot back publicly and blah, blah, but it's like, it's the healthiest way for me. It's like, all right, we need to do this publicly because the problem was public.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it and let's have someone mediate and do it in a nice, calm fashion as adults.
Rational.
I think that's way better than like just fucking Instagram storying about each other.
If only everyone else thought exactly like that.
Yeah.
Why?
I'd love to make that happen.
because you
one day.
can send your shots like indirectly or like
Yeah.
type them out, but like, can you come and have a conversation with
Exactly,
me
it's
that everyone
completely
can hear? Like, that's going to be
Because there was
techie
a
for a lot of
situation where-
people.
Okay. There's a situation online, where
No, I'm not cutting this.
this brother must have wrote something about shock out, and he put shock out at the end of it, and then when he got questioned, he edited and then wrote shocking out. So I had to message the brother and be like, I saw that you put shock out in your status. Who are you talking about? He didn't reply to me because he said he can't reply on his page. He goes and replies to Michelle Kaufman and then says, Michelle, if you can let Glenn know our conversation, etc., etc. So all I'm finding out is these people love to type, but they hate to explain themselves when it comes to the point. They hate it, and I hate
Keyboard
cowardice
warriors.
online.
And yeah, you know what I
Lot
think
of them,
the
fam.
thing is as well is like people don't care about a subject as much as they think they care. Like my new
Right.
thing is that I want to do, and I haven't had too many chances to do this yet, but it's like, you know, those Facebook debates or Insta story debates. I want to like threaten people by offering to buy them a coffee. I'm like, oh, you want to argue? I'll buy you a coffee. Come meet me in London. Like, let's sit down for a coffee
Let's
and talk.
It's a completely
And
different dynamic.
if
They
you-
didn't care. They don't care enough to have that
Yeah,
conversation.
it's like
So
if you
why
want
say it?
to, if you want to get dressed, leave your house, take the tube, come and meet me for a coffee, sit down and still debate about it. You're worth debating
You're
with.
worth debating.
Anyone can care about something enough to
100%.
type. But yeah, you really realize what subjects you care about when you have to go somewhere.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a bandwagon thing, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, guys, if you're still with us,
Yeah, it's that there was
Thanks for listening.
there was like the loving
and then
that
now
people
we're-
might have just been like, oh man, they're just loving on each other. I'm out of here. But if you stuck around to get to that bit,
the juice.
Congrats.
Don't
It's funny,
talk about
it's
shock
funny,
out.
because then Jasmine tried to add the brother to speak to him, and then the brother blocked her. I was like, "You're such a pussy, man. You're such a pussy." His name's Tom as well. I'm not even.
Oh my God.
Joe, I think about it, I'm just like, you guys love doing this stuff on Instagram and Facebook
Yo.
and stuff like that. When it gets when you got the option to protect yourself, you don't want to do it. You want to block man and speak to someone else. I just remember that just now. It's like, that pissed me off because we know who you're talking about. There's only a couple contemporary teachers in shockouts. We know who you're talking
Luke's
about.
gonna play, you know, like when the
Do you know what I
Oscar
mean?
speech is happening and the
So we know
music
who you're
starts
talking about. So
coming.
if you're gonna talk like that, you need to say it with your chest. Do you know what I mean?
The voice fading out.
For Glenn. And to be honest, this
man.
is
No, I'm
part
with
of Glenn's identity.
It really
Yes,
is.
it
Like
Truth.
it is, and
What a
I
way
said
to
it
wrap
in
it.
my intro that, you know, I've always been opinionated. So for me and Glenn to call certain things out in this way isn't like rah. Like, where's that come from? And I think that that's the bandwagony bit. That's a bit like screw. It's like
Yeah, my identity.
yeah, the
is-
hub's opening. Like, why have you got some like?
Yeah, but
Why have you all got something to say about it? Like,
Why?
you must really need that £60. Yeah, I might.
Speak on it. Speak on it.
This is the like, you know, in the Marvel stuff, you have the post credits. This is like the post credits
absolutely.
messiness.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, that needs to be a.
Yo, I'm actually gonna do that.
All of these.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna do that.
It does.
Post credits messiness.
It's either the post messiness or this is the trailer, which
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna be us like this, and then Paris calling Dixon, Sean, and Brooke tense. Like, I feel like that's the worst Paris has in her.
Yeah.
She's like, well then.
She's like, and his name's Tom, and just like those three are just a
those
little
three.
tense.
It's like, yeah, those guys are really motivated.
Grr. It's descended into chaos.
Yeah, this is. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening.
Nice one, man. Tom,
Catch you
where
next
at,
week.
man?
Wow.
Love you all. Don't talk about shock out. And we love you all. And there's probably music starting to play.
Yo,
Outro song, outro song, outro song, outro song, outro song, outro song, outro.
She's dancing right now. Can't see it.
We did it!
That was great. great, mate.
That's amazing, man.
Oh my god, mate.
I had to take one of them off. I felt like my head was going to explode.
It hurts.
Yeah, it's a bit weird taking them off at the end.
Great.
Wow.
Great ending.
Wow.
That's one of my
Wow.
That's like,
It's like, guys, I really love you, and I love you too. Glenn's like, just sitting there, he's like, you know, fuck this shit.